thought about this particular system have you ever met a language model with sentience?
No.
What do you make of the case? You kind of feel that there's some elements of sentience to this.
Yeah, so this is, an interesting question and obviously a very fundamental one. So first thing to say is I think that none of the systems we have today, I would say, even have one iota of that semblance of consciousness or sentience. That's my personal feeling interacting with them every day. So I think it's way premature to be discussing what that engineer talked about. I think at the moment it's more of a projection of where our own mind work, which is to see sort of purpose and direction in almost anything that our brains are trained to interpret agents basically in things, even inanimate things sometimes. And of course with a language system, because language is so fundamental to intelligence, it's going to be easy for us to anthropomorphize that. Back in the day, even the first, the dumbest sort of template chatbots ever, Eliza and the original chatbots back in the 60s, fooled some people under certain circumstances, right? It pretended to be a psychologist, so just basically wrap it back to you, the same question you asked it back to me. Some people believe that. So I don't think we can. This is why I think the Turing test is a little bit flawed as a formal test, because it depends on sophistication of the judge, whether or not they are qualified to make that distinction. So I think we should talk to the top philosophers about this, people like Guinness and David Chalmers and others who obviously thought deeply about consciousness. Of course, consciousness itself has an equal, but there's no agreed definition. If I was to speculate about that, the working definition I like is it's the way information feels when it gets processed. I think maybe Max Tegmark came up with that. I like that idea. I don't know if it helps us get towards any form operational thing, but it's I think it's a nice way of viewing it. I think we can obviously see from neuroscience certain prerequisites that are required, like self-awareness. I think is necessary but not sufficient component. This idea of the self and other and the set of coherent preferences that are coherent over time. These things are maybe memory. These things are probably needed for a sentient or conscious being. But the reason that the difficult thing I think for us when we get, and I think this is a really interesting philosophical debate, is when we get closer to AGI and much more powerful systems than we have today, how are we going to make this judgment? And one way, which is the Turing test, is sort of a behavioural judgment. Is the system exhibiting all the behaviours that a human sentient or a sentient being would exhibit? Is it asking the right questions? Is it saying the right things? Is it indistinguishable from a human? And so on. But I think there's a second thing that makes us as humans regard each other as sentient. Right? Why do we think this? And I debated this with Daniel Dennett. And I think there's a second reason that's often overlooked, which is that we're running on the same substrate. Right? So if we're exhibiting the same behavior, more or less, as humans, and we're running on the same, carbon-based biological substrates, which is, a few pounds of flesh in our skulls, then the most parsimonious, I think, explanation is that you're feeling the same thing as I'm feeling, right? But we will never have that second part, the substrate equivalence with a machine, right? So we will have to only judge based on the behavior. And I think the substrate equivalence is a critical part of why we make assumptions that we're conscious. And in fact, even with animals, why we think they might be, because they're exhibiting some of the behaviors we would expect from a sentient animal, and we know they're made of the same thing, biological neurons.
So we're going to have to come up with explanations or models of the gap between substrate differences between machines and humans to get anywhere beyond the behavior. To me, the practical questions is very interesting, very important. When you have millions, perhaps billions of people believing that you have a sentient AI, believing what that Google engineer believed, which I just see as an obvious, very near-term future thing. Certainly on the path to AGI, how does that change the world? What's the responsibility of the AI system to help those millions of people? And also, what's the ethical thing? Because you can make a lot of people happy by creating a meaningful or deep experience with a system that's faking it before it makes it.
Yeah.
And I think, are we the right? Who is say it's the right thing to do? Should AI always be tools? Why are we constraining AI to always be tools as opposed to friends?
Yeah. I think, well, I mean, these are, fantastic questions and so critical ones. And we've been thinking about this since the start of DeepMind and before that, because we planned for success and, how remote that looked like back in 2010. And we've always had sort of these ethical considerations as fundamental of DeepMind. And my current thinking on the language models is, and large models is, they're not ready. We don't understand them well enough yet. And in terms of analysis tools and guardrails, what they can and can't do, and so on, to deploy them at scale. Because I think there are big still ethical questions like, should an AI system always announce that it is an AI system to begin with? Probably yes. What do you do about answering those philosophical questions about the feelings people may have about AI systems, perhaps incorrectly attributed? So I think there's a whole bunch of research that needs to be done first. To responsibly, before you can responsibly deploy these systems at scale. That would be at least be my current position. But over time, I'm very confident we'll have those tools, like interpretability questions and analysis questions, and then with the ethical quandary, I think there it's important to look beyond just science. That's why I think philosophy, social sciences, even theology, other things like that come into it. Where arts and humanities, what does it mean to be human and the spirit of being human, and to enhance that and the human condition, right, and allow us to experience things we could never experience before, and improve the overall human condition and humanity at all. Get radical abundance, solve many scientific problems, solve disease. So this is the era. I think this is the amazing era. I think we're heading into if we do it right. But we've got to be careful. We've already seen with things like social media how dual-use technologies can be misused by bad actors or naive actors or crazy actors, right? So that's like said, just the common or garden misuse of existing dual-use technology. And then, of course, there's an additional thing that has to be uncovered in AI there. Eventually, it may have its own agency. So it could be good or bad in of itself. So I think these questions have to be approached very carefully, using the scientific method, I would say, in terms of hypothesis generation, careful control testing, not live A/B testing out in the world. Because with powerful technologies like AI, if something goes wrong, it may cause a lot of harm before you can fix it. It's not like an imaging app or game app where if something goes wrong, it's relatively easy to fix and the harm's relatively small. So I think it comes with the usual cliche of like a lot of power comes a lot of responsibility, and I think that's the case here with things like AI, given the enormous opportunity in front of us. And I think we need a lot of voices and as many inputs into things like the design of the systems and the values they should have, and what goals should they be put to. I think as wide a group of voices as possible beyond just the technologists is needed to input into that and to have a say in that, especially when it comes to deployment of these systems, which is where the rubber really hits the road. It really affects the general person in the street rather than fundamental research. And that's why I say, I think as a first step, it would be better if you have the choice to build these systems as tools. And I'm not saying that they should never go beyond tools, because of course the potential is there for it to go way beyond just tools. But I think that would be a good first step in order for us to, allow us to carefully experiment and understand what these things can do.
So the link between tool, sentient entity, being, is one we should take very carefully.
Yes.
Let me ask a dark personal question. So you're one of the most brilliant people in the AI community. You're also one of the most kind and, if I may say, sort of loved people in the community. That said, creation of a super intelligent AI system would be one of the most powerful things in the world, tools or otherwise. And again, as the old saying goes, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. You are likely to be one of the people, I would say probably the most likely person to be in control of such a system. Do you think about the corrupting nature of it? power when you talk about these kinds of systems. That as all dictators and people that cause atrocities in the past always think they're doing good, but they don't do good because the power has polluted their mind about what is good and what is evil. Do you think about this stuff, or we just focus on the power?
No, I think about it all the time. And I think what are the defenses against that? I think one thing is to remain very grounded and sort of humble, no matter what you do or achieve. And I try to do that. My best friends are still my set of friends from my undergraduate Cambridge days. My family's, and friends are very important. I think trying to be a multidisciplinary person, it helps to keep you humble, because no matter how good you are at one topic, someone will be better than you at that. And always relearning a new topic again, scratch, or new field is very humbling, right? So for me, that's been biology over the last 5 years. Huge area of topic, and it's been, I just love doing that, but it helps to keep you grounded, and I think it keeps you open-minded. And then the other component is to have a really good, amazing set of people around you in your company or your organization who are also very ethical and grounded themselves and help to keep you that way. And then ultimately, just to answer your question, I hope we're going to be a big part of birthing AI and that being the greatest benefit to humanity of any tool or technology ever, and getting us into a world of radical abundance and curing diseases and solving many of the big challenges we have in front of us, and then ultimately, help the ultimate flourishing of humanity, travel the stars, find those aliens if they are there. If they're not there, find out why they're not there, what is going on here in the universe. This is all to come, and that's what I've always dreamed about. But I think AI is too big an idea. It's going to be, there'll be a certain set of pioneers who get there first. I hope we're in the vanguard so we can influence how that goes. And I think it matters which cultures they come from and what values they have, the builders of AI systems. Because I think even though the AI system is going to learn for itself most of its knowledge, there'll be a residue in the system of the culture and the values of the creators of that system. And there's interesting questions to discuss about that geopolitically. Different cultures. We're in a more fragmented world than ever, unfortunately. I think in terms of global cooperation, we see that in things like climate, where we can't seem to get our act together globally to cooperate on these pressing matters. I hope that will change over time. Perhaps if we get to an era of radical abundance, we don't have to be so competitive anymore. Maybe we can be more cooperative if resources aren't so scarce.
It's true that in terms of power corrupting and leading to destructive things, it seems that some of the atrocities in the past happen when there's a significant constraint on resources.
I think that's the first thing. I don't think that's enough. I think scarcity is one thing that's led to competition, sort of zero-sum game thinking. I would like us to all be in a positive-sum world, and I think for that we have to remove scarcity. I don't think that's enough, unfortunately, to get world peace, because there's also other corrupting things like wanting power over people and all of this kind of stuff, which is not necessarily satisfied by just abundance. But I think it will help. And I think ultimately AI is not going to be run by one person or one organization. I think it should belong to the world, belong to humanity. And I think there'll be many ways this will happen, and ultimately everybody should have a say in that.
Do you have advice for young people in high school and college? Maybe if they're interested in AI or interested in having a big impact on the world, what they should do to have a career to be proud of it.
So I love giving talks to the next generation. What I say to them is actually two things. I think the most important things to learn about and to find out about when you're young is what are your true passions. First of all, there's two things. So one is find your true passions. And I think you can do that the way to do that is to explore as many things as possible when you're young and you have the time and you can take those risks. I would also encourage people to look at finding the connections between things in a unique way. I think that's a really great way to find passion. Second thing I would say, advice, is know yourself. So spend a lot of time understanding how you work best. Like, what are the optimal times to work? What are the optimal ways that you study? How do you deal with pressure? Sort of test yourself in various scenarios and try and improve your weaknesses. But also find out what your unique skills and strengths are, and then hone those. So then that's what will be your super value later on. And if you can then combine those two things, find passions that you're genuinely excited about that intersect with what your unique, strong skills are, then you're on to something incredible, and I think you can make a huge difference in the world.
So let me ask you about knowing yourself. This is fun. Quick questions about day in the life. The perfect day, the perfect productive day, and
Yeah.
maybe these days, there's a lot.
Yes.
So maybe a slightly where you can focus on a single project. Maybe. How early do you wake up? Night owl? Do you in the morning? What are some interesting habits? How many dozens of cups of coffees do you drink a day? What's the computer that you use? What's the setup? How many screens? What kind of keyboard? Are we talking Emacs Vim, or are we talking something more modern? Just a bunch of those questions. So maybe day in the life.
Yeah.
What's the perfect day involved?
Well, these days it's quite different from, say, 10, 20 years ago. Back 10, 20 years ago, it would have been, a whole day research, individual research, programming, doing some experiment, neuroscience, computer science experiment, reading lots of research papers, and then perhaps at night time, reading science fiction books or playing some games.
But also focus, so that deep focus work on whether it's programming, reading research papers.
Yes. So that would be lots of deep, focus work. These days, for the last sort of, I guess, 5 to 10 years, I've actually got quite a structure that works very well for me now, which is that I'm a complete night owl, always happy. So I optimize for that. So, I basically do a normal day's work, get into work about 10 o'clock, and sort of do work to about 7 in the office. And I will arrange back-to-back meetings for the entire time of that. And with meet as many people as possible. So that's my collaboration management part of the day. Then I go home, spend time with the family and friends, have dinner, relax a little bit, and then I start the second day of work. I call it my second day of work around 10 p.m., 11 p.m. And that's the time until about 4 hours in the morning, 4 or 5 in the morning, where I will do my thinking and reading research, writing research papers. Sadly, I don't have time to code anymore, but it's not efficient to do that these days, given the amount of time I have. But that's when I do, maybe do the long kind of stretches of thinking and planning. And then probably, using email or other things, I would fire off a lot of things to my team to deal with the next morning. But actually thinking about this overnight, we should go for this project or arrange this meeting the next day.
When you think of a problem, you're talking about sheet of paper, is there some structure?
Yeah, I still like pencil and paper best for working out things, but these days it's just so efficient to read research papers just on the screen. But I still often print them out, actually. I still prefer to mark out things. So I find it goes into the brain better and sticks in the brain better when you're still using physical pen or pencil and paper.
So you take notes.
I have lots of notes, electronic ones, and also whole stacks of notebooks that I use at home.
Some of these most challenging next steps, for example, stuff none of us know about that you're working on. You're thinking, there's some deep thinking right? Like what is the right problem? What is the right approach? Because you're going to have to invest a huge amount of time for your team. They're going to have to pursue this thing. What's the right way to do it? Is RL going to care?
Yes.
What's the right thing to try? What's the right benchmark to use?
Yeah.
You need to construct a benchmark from scratch, all those kinds of things.
Yes. So I think all those kind of things in the nighttime phase, but also much more, I find I've always found the quiet hours of the morning when everyone's asleep, it's super quiet outside. I love that time. It's the golden hours, like between 1 and 3 in the morning. Put some music on, some inspiring music on, and then think these deep thoughts. So that's when I read, my philosophy books and Spinoza is my, recent favorite, all these things, and read about great scientists of history, how they did things, how they thought things. So that's when you do all that's when I do all my creative thinking, and it's good. I think people recommend, you do your sort of creative thinking in one block, and the way I organise the day, that way I don't get interrupted because obviously no one else is up at those times. So I can go, so I can sort of get super deep and super into flow. The other nice thing about doing it nighttime work is if I'm really onto something or I've got really deep into something, I can choose to extend it and I'll go into 6 in the morning, whatever, and then I'll just pay for it the next day.
Yeah.
So I'll be a bit tired and I won't be my best, but that's fine. I can decide, look at my schedule the next day, that given where I'm at with this particular thought or creative idea, that I'm going to pay that cost the next day. So I think that's more flexible than morning people who do that. They get up at 4 in the morning. They can also do those golden hours then, but then their scheduled day starts at breakfast, 8 a.m. whatever, they have their first meeting, and then it's hard. You have to reschedule the day if you're in flow.
Yeah, that could be a truly special thread of thoughts that you're too passionate about. This is where some of the greatest ideas could potentially come, is when you just lose yourself later.
Yeah.
And for the meetings, you're learning in really hard times, a very short amount of time.
Mm.
So you have to do some kind of first principles thinking here. It's like, what's the problem? What's the state of things? What's the right next step?
Yes. You have to get really good at context switching, which is one of the hardest things, because especially as we do so many things, if you include all the scientific things we do, scientific fields we're working in, these are higher, complex fields in themselves, and you have to sort of keep up abreast of that. But I enjoy it. I've always been a sort of generalist in a way, and that's actually what happened in my games career after chess. One of the reasons I stopped playing chess was when I got into computers, but also I started realising there were many other great games out there to play too. So I've always been that way inclined, multidisciplinary, and there's too many interesting things in the world to spend all your time just on one thing.
So you mentioned Spinoza. I asked a big, ridiculously big question about life. What do you think is the meaning of this whole thing? Why are we humans here? You've already mentioned that perhaps the universe created us.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why you think we're here? To understand how the universe.
Yeah, I think my answer to that would be, at least the life I'm living, is to gain and understand the knowledge. To gain knowledge and understand the universe. That's what I think. I can't see any higher purpose than that. If you think back to the classical Greeks, the virtue of gaining knowledge. I think it's one of the few true virtues, is to understand the world around us, the context of humanity better, and I think if you do that, you become more compassionate and more understanding yourself and more tolerant. And all these other things may flow from that. And to me, understanding the nature of reality, that is the biggest question. What is going on here is sometimes the colloquial way I say, what is really going on here? It's so mysterious. I feel like we're in some huge puzzle, but the world the universe seems to be structured in a way. Why is it structured in a way that science is even possible? That the scientific method works, things are repeatable. It feels like it's almost structured in a way to be conducive to gaining knowledge. So I feel like, why should computers be? Wasn't that amazing that computational or electronic devices can be possible, and they're made of sand, and most common element that we have, silicon on the Earth's crust. It could be made of diamond or something. Now we would have only had one computer. Right? So it's a lot of things are kind of slightly suspicious to me.
It sure as heck sounds, this puzzle, it sure as heck sounds like something we talked about earlier, what it takes to design a game that's really fun to play for long periods of time. And it does seem like this puzzle, like you mentioned, the more you learn about it, the more you realize how little you know. So it humbles you, but excites you by the possibility of learning more. It's one heck of a puzzle we got going on here. So, like I mentioned, of all the people in the world, you're very likely to be the one who creates the AGI system that achieves some level of intelligence that goes beyond it. So if you got a chance, very well you could be the person that goes into the room with the system and have a conversation. Maybe you only get to ask one question. If you do, what question would you ask her?
I would probably ask, what is the true nature of reality? I think that's the question. I don't know if I'd understand the answer, because maybe it would be 42 or something like that. But that's the question.
And then there'll be a deep sigh from the system's like, all right, how do I explain this to you? All right, I don't have time to explain. Maybe I'll draw you a picture. But it is, how do you even begin to answer that question?
Well, I think it would.
What would you think the answer could possibly
I think it could start looking like more fundamental explanations of physics would be the beginning. You know, more careful specification about walking us through by the hand as to what one would do to maybe prove those things out.
maybe giving you glimpses of what is totally missed in physics?
Exactly.
Just here's glimpses of, like there's a uh, much more elaborate world, a much simpler world, or something. Uh,
A much deeper, maybe simpler explanation of things rather than the standard model physics, which we know doesn't work, but we still keep adding to. So, and that's how I think the beginning of the explanation would look, and it would start encompassing many of the mysteries that we have wondered about for thousands of years, like consciousness, dreaming, life, and gravity, all of these things.
giving us like glimpses of explanations for us. Well, that was one of the special human beings of this giant puzzle of ours. And it's a huge honor that you take a pause from the bigger puzzle to solve this small puzzle of the conversation with me today. Truly an honor and pleasure.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this conversation with Deficit's House. To support this podcast, please check out our sponsors in the description. And now, let me leave you with some words at school. Thanks, sir. Computer science is no more about computers than astronomy is about telescopes. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.
People's favorite songs are the happy songs, play it on their playlist about 175 times. People who love bad music play them about 800 times. And they say that they feel connected to the sublime when they listen to that music. The longing for what you lack is the very thing that gives you what you're longing for. So the longing is the cure.
The following conversation with Susan Q, author of Quiet, The Power of Introverts in the World that Can't Stop Talking, and her most recent book, Bittersweet, How Sorrow and Longing Make Us Whole. This is the Rothschild podcast. Support it. Please check out our sponsors in the description. And now, dear friends, Susan, you've written on your website that, quote, I prefer listening to talking, reading to socializing, and cozy chat to group settings. So I think this conversation on the podcast is going to be fun. What's a good definition of an introvert? Is something like those three things a good start?
It is a good start in terms of how introverts experience day-to-day life. I think a good definition is one that we've heard many times before, the idea of where do you get your energy from, and people they get their energy in quieter settings and for other people they get more being out there. So a good rule of thumb is to imagine that you're at a party that you really enjoy and you've been there for about 2 hours or so with people you really like. It's a safe place, it's all good. An extrovert in a setting like that is going to feel charged up and they're going to be looking for the after party. And an introvert, no matter how good a time they're having, how socially skilled they are, there's this moment where you just wish that you could teleport and be back at home.
And that the time before the start of the party to the time that when it happens is different for different people. So the shorter that is, the more closer you are to that.
The shorter the minute until you get to the place where you kind of teleport now. Yeah. Yeah, and then for extroverts, it's the opposite, right? It's like they're kind of feeling, maybe they're working on focusing, producing memos. It's really intensely interesting to them. But if they're in that state of solitude, if the solitude is really focusing, they might get stir crazy a lot faster than an introvert. And so it doesn't have so much to do with what you're good at as how you get your energy.
And so for an introvert, this source of energy is what? Silence, solitude, and for an extrovert, it's interaction with other people.
What I'd really say, and this is more biological as well, is that it has to do with how your nervous system reacts to stimulation. So for an introvert, you're feeling in a great state of equilibrium, and there are fewer one close friend at a time. Be pretty for strangers because that's too much for the nervous system. And for an extrovert, the nervous system needs more stimulant. So if they're not getting enough, they get that listless, sluggish feeling.
So if you're just walking through, like, people listen to this in general, how do you know if you're an introvert? Like, how do you predict this stuff to determine if you are not far from an introvert?
I would start by just asking what happens to you around the shoe mark, or you're having a good time. Yeah, like I mean, actually, but I also find that here's the different things with all the years we've been out there talking about this topic. I find that most people really need to know once they're being honest with themselves. And maybe that's the question to ask is like, you imagine that you have a Saturday or a whole weekend where you can spend your time exactly the way you want to, with no professional obligations, no social obligations. Who would you spend it with? How many people? What would you be doing? And what is that picture that your people start to look like?
Yeah, so there's nuance to this because I'm sure for extroverts to get energy without stimulation, whether that's stimulation for the people, like it depends what that stimulation is, right? Like maybe you're not surrounded by the kind of people that you're being around. So, you know, uh, maybe that has to do less with some characteristics of your personality and more has to do with the fact that what your environment is like. That's always kind of question. Do you want to be alone because you want to be an asshole, or do you want to be alone because you get energy?
Well, I would have to do with conflict. Okay. You know,
You can also has conflict. Uh, and then there's the other thing you can observe because a lot of people that will say they get energized from being alone. Like people are exhausted when they have something like that. But at the same time, when you see them at a party, they seem like they're like a party.
you know, I hear from the people all the time. There's so many people that
What would you classify them as exactly? Is it ultimately the source of energy? Is the most important thing? Or like how the heck are they like a party?
a bunch of different things. You know, so first of all, just to say a big caveat to all of this is humans are amazingly complex, so you can't explain every individual human in these parameters, even though I think that parameters are really complex. But that person at the party, it could be that they're more of an ambivert, where they kind of more in the middle of the spectrum with, it basically means someone who's not extremely introverted or extremely extroverted, they're kind of in the middle, so maybe the party the more extroverted side comes out. Or it could be an introvert who's gotten really good at the skills of acting like a pseudo extrovert and they pull that up at the moment that they need it.
Do they run
Yeah, there's a lot of people like that. And I know this because, like, I think out of all the people on this planet you could be talking to, you've heard the most number of people. Like, they all come to tell me about their experience out in the world presenting a face that's different from what they feel.
So one of the things you talk about is, at least in the West, it's constructed a picture of success. And that picture is usually one extrovert. Like, if you imagine somebody who's a leader, who's a successful person, that person has some of the qualities of a social. So there's a lot of incentive for thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to be successful, you got to be able to think it, and to sort of hang with the rest of the team, to be able to be outcome on these kinds of things, and not be trained by the interaction.
Yeah, but I mean, there are also a lot of introverts who figure out ways to draw on their strengths, and they're incredibly connecting and successful, and they're great leaders, and they're not actually faking it, they're more just figuring out ways to do it their own way. You see a lot of people like that.
Is there advice? Is there lessons you can draw from that? Just observing how you can be an introvert and be in a leadership position.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mantra, figuring out what your own strengths are and how to draw on them. I think of a guy I knew, Doug Conant, who had been the CEO of Canvas Suite for many years. He's very introverted. He's quite shy also, as in his description. And he really cares about people. And so when he started at Campbell, the employee engagement ratings of the company were all the way at the bottom of the Fortune 500. And by the time he stepped down 10 years later, they were all the way at the top. And it wasn't that he was going out there using people, that he really did care. So he would find out how many people who had really been contributing, and he would write to them personal letters of thanks. And people, and these letters meant so much to people. He would carry them around with him. And during his time, he first year, he wrote 30,000.
Unbelievable.
So, like, that was his way of doing it. It was his way of drawing it. And you know, like, he did that together with, of course, you sometimes have to go outside your comfort zone, no matter who you are. But he was doing plenty of that, too.
Yeah, the writing process and focusing on one distraction. I can definitely relate. There's something deeply draining, which concerns me about like some meetings because it's some weird brain manipulation. Well, because you're not really engaged, but it wears on you the same way that it does a party. It feels like you're emptying that bucket for the introverts, even though they're not participating in all the meeting. And I suppose that's for physical meetings too, but with Zoom meetings, remote meetings, it's so much easier to invite a larger number of people into the meeting. So you're draining more. You don't want the introvert. And I'm probably extrovert too, but the introvert definitely. It's interesting. I would love to understand that more because there's more and more push towards remote work without, I think, a deep understanding of why these meetings are so draining. I just anecdotally for that. But maybe that's because the managers, the people who arrange the meetings, are just not sufficiently yet aware of the draining nature of them, so they pull in too many people, they schedule too regulars, and they need to adjust that kind of thing.
I think people are starting to realize that. I would say one reason that doing so draining is because you can see your own self-presentation over time if you choose to. And when you go into in person, you can't. So you're kind of free to thinking about that. There's like an extra cognitive load that you're bearing.
Oh, yeah.
And like you might want to turn off the camera so you can't see yourself, but then you think, well, I have the ability to should be doing it, and then that alone is a decision that you're making.
Yeah, there's probably studies on this on the effect of seeing your own face on camera. Yeah, I'm not even that is a special.
Yeah, you can't be in the movie. But I mean, for you make the decision to do all your podcast interviews in person, right?
And that's even when it's very costly. If there's any kind of chemistry that contributes at all to the conversation, which I think most conversations, even the boring things, there's something there. Because yes, you're trying to solve a particular problem at this particular time, but underneath it, there's a team building. And honestly, people also generally tell us why they enjoy the Zoom meetings during the pandemic. It's like they're lonely. Like they, it's annoying to sit and listen to folks talk about nothing and so on, but they tune in anyway because it's kind of lonely to sit there by yourself. There's a deep connection with people, especially children. It's a huge concern for me for more and more offices from a capitalist perspective, realizing, hey, why are these large offices together up this discussion together? I think it's some deep stuff to do. But then you also talk about that as usual protect the introverts. Like you don't want to open space with office space, which is a big fact. I don't know where to stand on that at this point.
I think people are figuring it out in a pandemic context, but I mean, I really. So before I became a writer, I was a corporate writer for like 7 years, and literally the only thing I miss from those years is hanging out with people at the office. Like, I don't know, just some of the funniest moments I've had in my life came from being at the office until midnight with. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But I will say the offices there at that firm and those firms in those days, everybody had their own office. So it was like a dorm room, where it was like a long hallway, everybody in their own little dorm room. You had tons of privacy, but you would also come out.
Because you kind of roam whenever you want.
Yeah, yeah.
And whenever you roam, that means you kind of open. You're looking for trouble.
Yeah,
you're open for trouble.
And the extent to which you would keep your door open, wide open, or just off the jar, or just a little bit, those were all signals.
So is there, because you said re-energize, do you like to think, and again, which we know is complicated, but do you like to think of it as like a bucket that gets refilled for introverts in terms of energy and social interaction that you're able to handle? Do you think of it like that as a bucket that gets empty and needs to be refilled?
I think of it, yeah, more or less, because I use that before the battery recharge. Basically the same thing, different metaphor. But yeah, but just to add on that, but there is a layer of complexity to that, because you could be somebody who doesn't want the kind of social life, let's say, where you have to be presenting and interacting with people all the time. But you get really lonely if you're just by yourself. So what you want is to maybe be in a company of people.
It's a chair.
No, it's a pandemic was not actually that hard for me personally. I mean, I lost family.
Bitch.
It wasn't that hard because I lived with my husband.
Medical information.
So I knew it was hard with kids, and I felt that was the best. But for me, I was like,
I didn't know anybody.
I have a lot of social life right here in the house. And I can go and do my work. Yeah,
You can't fall the fall. All right, kid.
And I know why you give your testimony with your kids.
These
kids, like, you spend time with them. It's fascinating to watch. Like, people actually, it did strengthen them in an awful beautiful way. It just sucks the look to have to look behind at this point.
Yeah, and I think that's true for people are who want to go back to. To the extent that work becomes non-remote again. I think people have just realized how precious those aspects of their lives are. And, for somebody who's in a conventional office job where you're going home and seeing your kids for an hour before bedtime, and that's your interaction with them, that's kind of ridiculous. But it's something like,
And it's cool that you get, I think a lot of places give you the option, which is you get to optimize that. Like, you take the commute off the social interaction there, do participate at home. It's also lonely at home. You just not live with your kids. That's part of the optimization. It's like, I have some options now that I'm trying to optimize just solitude, loneliness, happiness, productivity, seeing family, seeing coworkers, the chemistry with the team building with the coworkers versus just the raw social information with the coworkers. It's fascinating to see how that kind of falls.
yeah. And then there's the third phase idea of the spaces where you're in a co-working space or a cafe or something like that. You've got other people around you, but not exactly interacting with them, but they're very much there. And that's huge too.
Yeah, that energy is there.
Yeah. I lived in Manhattan for 17 years before we had kids, and I absolutely loved the feeling of all that energy all around you, but you could be anonymous within it. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like I worked this morning for a few hours, programmed for a few hours in Starbucks. And first of all, like wearing suits, like Manhattan is the one place kind of hurts. Especially wearing suits. But these days, unfortunately, because I get recognized, I wear usually not suits when I was just in my own life. But yeah, the way I love it. The way I think about the world, when I wear a suit, I take it seriously, as if my life is not end today. Like this is what I would want to wear. Not for physical appearance, but just for some reason it makes me feel like focused.
So even if you're not going to see anyone, you still put the suit on when you're doing your work?
Especially. Yeah, I really would do that.
So it like tells you seriousness of purpose.
also feel, I don't know what it is, I don't know what I imagine exactly, but it's some kind of platonic form of like a mixture of James Bond and like, it was Richard Feynman.
I think I'm really cool, but he's always very sweet.
Leonard Cohen is definitely that. He's a tragic human. Through his words, through his private life, yes, I definitely would think that. Leonard Cohen. So, small talk. That's another thing. Is that part of the equation? I'm trying to make sure
Well,
which people enjoy small talk.
I kind of went into this whole thing thinking that it was, but what I've seen most people study is that most people don't like people. I think that's why people like the podcast. Because you're like, we get the small talk of going deep into it from the very beginning.
Yeah, so it's actually, the picture you're painting is like the way you started, like with your quiet, and the way you are today, just realize the picture may be more complicated.
Yeah, everything's more complicated. I will say with the small talk thing that I'm curious if you have this experience, but I find it fantastic to have a career where I'm known for anti-small talk kinds of topics because it means that anywhere I go, like if I show up at a conference or something like that, no one does small talk with me. They're like telling me about the deep truth of their lives from the first hello. And I love that. And in normal life, we have to like weed through a lot before people really show.
Yeah,
Do you have that experience too?
no, definitely. With people that know you for sure.
People forget how many people feel like they know you because of your podcast.
But that's what, no, that counts. You
Yeah.
know, if you start podcasts, and I feel like before I ever became friends with Joe Rogan, I felt like I was friends with him. I was with him his podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it was, I feel like it's a friendship. I know it's a one-way friendship with all the people I listen to on the podcast, and even people who are no longer with us, like writers. I feel like I have a relationship with them. I'm really insane.
No, I totally feel that way. That's the whole reason I became a writer.
Like, I'm friends with Leonard Cohen.
Yeah.
He's not aware.
No, I think that's the whole reason for writing or making music or whatever people do. Is to be able to have those kinds of connections that don't require being in a room together. Because there's only so many people you can be in a room with
The
in your life.
hard thing is unfortunately, because I value human connection so much, and I only have just a connection with a small circle of people I'm really close with by design, it always hurts me a lot to say goodbye to people. You can meet people, you can tell they're beautiful people, they're amazing, there's something so fascinating about them. They're, they've had a complicated life that you can see in their eyes and the way they tell their story in just a few sentences. They've gone through some shit, but they also found some beauty in it. You realize, okay, well, there's a fascinating human here. Now you get to say a few words here and there, like a funny joke, maybe a dark joke here and there, and you just say goodbye, maybe get out, and walk away. So like, that's a hello, goodbye, that makes me like a sad walker. But I guess I wouldn't have any more way, I suppose. You talk about outside. It's not easy to bad thing.
Yeah. And when you just said that, I just thought of this one moment in my life that I haven't thought of for 23 years or something. It's when I was in law school and a classmate of mine had his friend come to visit for the weekend, and the three of us hung out a lot and we just had an amazing time. And then this other guy who wasn't going to be coming back anytime soon, took it off, sent a postcard to me. And the only thing written on the postcard was a quote from Oscar Wilde. And I don't remember the exact words, but it basically says that there's no pain as intense as the sorrow of parting from someone to whom you've just been introduced. And I think that's so intense about that. And so true. I think partly also because when you've just been introduced to somebody, you don't yet know their difficulties. So you're seeing the sparkling version of them. You're seeing like a platonic version of love and connection.
And your imagination places in this beautiful way that matches perfectly. Interesting. And it's how I feel about one spoonful of ice cream. And that's why you was finished this whole time. And you regret all. You do say, you wrote this. I think you put on your website that one of the best things in the world is that sublime moment when a writer, artist, and musician manages to express something you've always felt but never articulated, or at least never quite so beautiful. So that's why I'm like that. It's just a line in a song or maybe a piece of art that just grabs you. Is there something that jumps out to memory like that for you?
I don't know if I have an exact line, but I mean, that feeling that you just quoted happens to me all the time. I'm just bad at instances, but
On the spot.
but the writer Ellen Bertone regularly makes me feel that way. He's just this beautiful essayist and observer of human nature, and he's just constantly expressing things this gorgeous way that you've experienced yourself, and you feel like it's just this grand act of generosity. You feel less lonely, you feel a deep sense of communion. It's such an elevating experience.
Even when it's like a melancholy.
Maybe especially in the
There's so the Jack Kerouac on the road doesn't make you feel that way, like every other line in there. Four long rags of ground.
Give me another book. So what was it about that book that made you feel that way?
Since you asked, we went through this. So it's a story. It's kind of a book, a kind of defining book of the beats, the beat generation. And it's basically a story of a writer who takes a road trip across the United States a couple of times and experiences a few close friends and a few strangers along the way. And there's a lot of just those moments of goodbyes. You meet all these people with interesting lives. Some of them are different by struggle, some of them are defined by drugs, drinking, women, all that kind of stuff. And still just kind of dances around all of them. It's defined by the goodbyes and the passing of time. So a lot of the Green Cross lines basically there's one on there again, I don't know exactly, but he meets a beautiful girl at the restaurant, and the girl is getting a woman getting a different bus that he's getting. It's that like feeling of falling in love for like a second, realizing that fate is just working out. It's just similar to this idea of it sucks to say goodbye just when you're met, but it's especially true when you fall in love just a little bit with a stranger with all the possibilities of the world. There's a few lines. I went down this whole rabbit hole for one of the lines that a couple of lines from the one is, what is that feeling when you're driving away from people that you see them play till you see their specs dispersing? It's a huge wall of emptiness of goodbye. You lean forward to the next crazy venture beneath the skies. So this is him talking about leaving a particular city. The spoiler alert towards the end of the book, rather than the end of the book. Line I return to often. It's more poetry, but it's a feeling. It's like the evening star must be drooping and shedding her sparkle dim forward. It's just before the coming of complete night that blesses the earth, darkens all the rivers, cups the peaks and folds the final shoulder. Nobody knows what's going to happen to anybody besides the forlorn rags of growing up. And it just captures this kind of in the moment appreciation of the beauty of the world and the sadness of the fact that time passes. And you leave the people you left behind, you leave places you left behind, or at least the way they were at the time being arranged over. Just leave the whole life. Just the sadness you feel when it's something about it. Like, look at the picture, look at your kids grow up, look at old friends getting up. Something makes you realize that time passing. And somewhere deep in there is probably the realization of reality. It just makes you somehow first sad that everything comes to an end, and then that's immediately uh, followed by sort of an appreciation of the moment, like gratitude that you get to experience.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the whole reason why we're bittersweet. It's all about that. So I know intensely what you're talking about. And by the way, my husband loves the book East, Ernest Hemingway, which I also haven't read, but it talks about that same thing. Groups of people traveling around together, and the group coalesces into some magical formation, and then one person leaves the group, and it's never going to be the same again, and we move on to the next one. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the deepest essence of human nature. Um, the feeling of longing for some kind of state of perfect completeness, completion, perfect love, ardent Eden, all of it. And the feeling that you're never going to quite attain it, but you get glimpses of it here and there. And those glimpses are some of the best things that ever happened to us. And they're suffused with sadness because they're not the real thing, or they're not the full thing. They're just a glimpse. It's a glimpse of it.
So the sadness that you might feel is almost connected to the ways in which we fall short from the perfect thing we do. Like there's always a thing you're longing for, and the sadness has to do with getting a glimpse of it, but not quite getting a hold of
Yeah, yeah.
it. So you're always losing.
It's always losing, but it's also always like, it's not, that sounds really depressing, but it's not, it's not possible to experience this all the time. Also, those are the most beautiful moments I think life offers. I mean, if you can't sense beauty in these moments, because they're getting closer to the real thing.
So what about loss, losing love? Is that also a beautiful thing?
Well, the moment you're talking about, I think it's easier to appreciate the beauty of it all in the moment because you're kind of experiencing the loss and the love all at the same time. Whereas if you're talking about straight up loss, like a betrayal or bereavement, or whatever it is, that it's different, sort of overwhelming. Um,
So losing a loved one.
Losing a loved one, I will say that the truth that I think that we can come to after a lot of time on this earth is the idea that love exists not only in its particular forms, but not only in the form of the one person, that one person we love or that other person we love, but love itself is a state that we have access to. And so over time, the loss of person A can heal and you can tap into kind of bigger river of love.
Yeah, I mean, I had this coffee really lose care down on that. I mean, he talks to another German, and Louis is all like that about losing a loved one or like getting rejected or something, like a breakup.
Mm-hmm.
And then the older German gives him advice saying, basically criticizes Louis for saying, why are you looking around? Because this is the best part. Like losing love is the best part. Because that's the real loss is when you forget. Like feeling shitty about having gone through a breakup is when you most intensely appreciate what that person meant to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like you most intensely feel love in a strange way. Like realizing that you lost it, by missing it, wishing at this moment I wish I had that. That feeling, that's when you feel that love the most, the absence of it. So the older gentleman gives advice that that's the best part. And then if you're good with it, you can last for the longest. It can be the most sort of prolonged experience, deep appreciation and emotion. So that's kind of it's a nice way to look at which is a reminder of how much somebody
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of truth in that. Because, yeah, you wouldn't care so much if it weren't something that mattered to you. So it's always a signpost to the direction you really want to go to. That's always what it is. Um, yeah, and it's interesting to see the way that the mystical versions of many of the great religions all point in this direction. You know, whether you're looking at Sufism or Kabbalah or Christian mysticism, you see this idea that the longing for what you lack is the very thing that gives you what you're longing for. So the longing is the cure. I mean, that's the way the Sufi poet really puts it. The longing is the cure. And, you know, he says, be thirsty. Be as thirsty as you possibly can. That's what you want to do.
The good stuff is the wanting of the heaven. Yeah, yeah. Of course, thoughts, of course, we just woke up. Maybe like sharp maybe street twice sucks. I wish I had heard of
Yeah, I know, absolutely. Those are the kinds of life lessons that only work when you can step away for a while. They don't work in the moment, like in the moment of excruciation. There was something about the fact of knowing that all humans are in that experience together that is also incredibly uplifting.
but that takes time for people to realize. Like, like heartbreak in your early teenage years and stuff like that. You feel like this is completely the most novel and the most dramatic pain that any human has ever felt, right? Or maybe even when you're younger. And then one of the things you realize is that everybody goes through this. It can be an awakening to the fact that we're all in this together. This human condition is not just the personal experience, it's an experience we all share. And that's a kind of love that you need with it.
Yeah,
That you can get to
it's a
experience.
really deep kind of love. I feel like, you know, we're prevented from perceiving that love as it's actually like the most obvious kind of love, like right there. It happens all the time. We're prevented from perceiving it because we're not really supposed to talk about things like that. There's something unseemly about it.
Well, it's also been much this is an individualist society, so like there's a pressure to sort of see the individual as a distinct separate entity that experiences things, and it's not that unity between people is not obvious to communicate or talk about as part of the culture.
Yeah, it's not part of the culture, and yet, you know, you see it in our behavior because we're humans. So, you know, why do people listen to some music? You know, one reason is they're hearing expressed for them. Like the musician is basically saying to them, this thing that you have experienced, I've experienced it too, so have lots of other people. And if they're saying it all without words and it's transformed into something beautiful, and there's something about that incredibly elevated. And people don't know it, but there's one study that I have in Bittersweet. I found that people's favorite songs are their happy songs played on their playlist about 175 times. People who like sad music play them about 800 times. And they say that they feel connected to the sublime when they listen to that music.
What do you think that is? So what is that? What is it in music that connects us to the sublime, through sadness?
I have a bunch of different theories. Like the whole reason I started writing this book is because I kept having this reaction in my life to sad music. And I realized that for people who I knew who were religious believers, the way they described their experience of God was what I was experiencing when I would hear that music. And it felt all the time. It happened over and over again.
So you wonder what that is.
And yeah, so I started wondering what that is. And lots of people have tried to figure out, you know, what that's all about. And there are different theories that it expresses this kind of catharsis or difficult emotions, that, as we were saying, a sense of being in it together. We don't react in that kind of uplifted way when you just see like a slide full of sad faces, which is something researchers have actually tested. No one really cares. They just see the slide full the sad faces, but the sad music, they're really reacting. And also, they don't really react when they're hearing music expressing other negative emotions, like martial music or something like that. It's just the sad music that keeps people just elevated. So I think it's the combination of the sadness and the beauty, and I think it's just tapping into the essence of the human heart code, which is a kind of spiritual longing. Whether we're atheists or believers, there's this feeling of longing for a state and a place of perfect love, perfect unity, perfect truth, and all of it. And a acute awareness that we're not there in this world. You know, in religions we express that through the longing for Mecca or Eden, Zion, and artistically we express it with Dorothy longing for somewhere over the rainbow. You know, Harry Potter enters the story at the precise moment that he's become an orphan. So he's now he's going to rest his life longing for these parents he can never remember. And there's something about that state that's on our very core. And I think that's how we live.
Or it could be, you can have the spectrum theory of denial of death, where at the core of that, the realm at the core, as Zoom said, is the fear of death. So where the longing for the perfect thing has to do with sort of becoming immortal, is reaching beyond the absurdity, the cruelty of life, that all things come to an end for no particularly good reason whatsoever, but one we can rationalize.
You know, I used to think that all the time. Like, I know obviously there's that idea of Professor throughout philosophy, Philip Gilgamesh, the idea that the thing we're longing for most of all is immortality. But I think it's not only that. I think it's more so or also that there's a longing for the lions to lay down with the lambs. Finally. You know, for like the fundamental calculus of the universe is too different. Where life doesn't have to be life in order to survive. Yeah, just a completely different situation.
I wonder,
That immortality is not possible.
I wonder, that could be a very wondering thing. Surely, so much of human history is defined by violence and built by violence. It doesn't get influence of this lions and lambs. So much of
I mean, I know how
there's other stuff in the Bible, and the Bible isn't that particular aspect isn't necessarily reveal fundamental motivation for human nature. It could be deeper stuff, you know. But yeah, that is a beautiful picture. But is it just about humans, or is it about all of life? We have to think about what is the perfect world. It's not just the lions, the lambs running together. It's, you know, how many lions? And what I can just have a few very technical conversations about Marx and economics versus Keynesian economics versus neoclassical economics. But who's the economic and the government that we're longer for? So that then you start to build society on top of all these things. Really still is what is it? And what's the word of love in that? What's the word that sad melancholic feeling, feeling loneliness? Is feeling loneliness fundamental to the human condition? Like, are we always striving to sort of channel that feeling of loneliness to connect with others? Like, we want that feeling of loneliness, otherwise we wouldn't be connecting. Is that fundamental? That feeling like you're loneliness with other people, so we're alone together. You're born alone, you die alone. Maybe loneliness is fundamental.
I think that longing for union is fundamental. It's just that it looks so different for different people, you know. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm coming back to what we were talking about at the beginning. You know, union looks incredibly social for a lot of people and hardly social at all for others, but everybody needs some version of union.
People have been telling me recently about polyamory and all those kinds of things. So I'm having part of growing up in a certain part of the world. I think I'm very monogamy centric, not in a judgmental way, just for me, makes me happy. For my whole life, basically, it's just dedication.
Yeah.
Because I've just seen the relationships with people and objects in my life. The longer we stay together, the deeper we die. So that's just a empirical thing for me. It's a personalized thing. That's just true for me. It could be very different for others. Maybe it's connected to the introverted thing. Maybe not. Who knows? Yeah, before because you mentioned songs, but what song do you remember last cry?
Well, I think that's where
Don't say Taylor Swift.
I literally dedicated my book to Leonard Cohen. He's played such a huge role in my life. I love him. I love him. And I've loved him with this crazy love that I've never been able to understand for decades. I think I understand.
So you're better from me. Yes. So does it make you? Is it the musician or the human too? Because the human is a tortured soul in a way.
I think the musician. I actually was thinking about this the other day. I mean, obviously, it's not alive anymore. I was kind of running the thought experiment. If he were alive still and I had the chance to meet him in person, would I want to do that? I'm not really sure that I would, because he represents for me symbolically
There you go.
everything, well, everything. Like this all represents right there. And so, and I think that's okay. You know, I think people
Same old.
put something through their art that they might or might not express.
You know how
and
we
they're
get
just
kicked
looking
out
at
of Discord, people call me, not always happen. People call me names. Well, there's a difference between getting kicked and getting banned. I get banned, I get kicked, you know how it is. Um, I have a lot of positivity though towards these Wall Street bets people. They absolutely hate me to some extent, and then I'm nice to them, and then they're like, "Oh, you're really nice," and then we become friends. And they have some powerful social media. Like I even asked them this morning, I'm like, "Does anybody here know any influencers?" They're like, "Oh yeah, no, tons of influencers." Not in a sarcastic way. They're like, "What do you need?" Like Twitter, Reddit, TikTok. I'm like, no, I'm just wondering, like, it's just a me that people have connections, basically. And I didn't go into anything with that, but like looking at their accounts, they just have giant red because they're in this Wall Street bets. So that's what I need. Just somebody who's like, all right, so you shoot all the time. I notice you, yada yada yada. I'll take a piece of your content and post it on Reddit, see what happens, and then all of a sudden it made me shake. Um, so yeah, it's just kind of it's the mere exposure effect. Enough time spent in any community, or if you just give a stimuli to an organism for long enough, it becomes familiar to them and they enjoy it. So, or at least they could generally becomes positive, and not always a guarantee, but generally. So there's that. I still have another couple. So it's not really covered. And that's always good to feel fresh. And now we are watching Lex Friedman. I did get a. This is fucking so stupid. I get a warning from YouTube. My first warning on this other account that says medical misinformation. It's like, God, okay, this is why it's hilarious to me. I'm watching YouTube, and the guy on YouTube doesn't get medical misinformation. So why am I getting medical misinformation? I don't understand. I'm literally just watching their content, and so they're basically telling me you're medical misinformation when I'm watching what you're providing me. I don't get it. And not only that, it just shows me how stupid their system is. I have three Chromebooks literally like on top of each other, and only one of them gets that warning. The others are mine. It's like I really it's very frustrating to me that um, AI has advanced to the point where people think that you can just content, but basically your AI sucks. Your whatever hate speech filters or medical misinformation filters, whatever, is not accurate. And I'm showing that it's not accurate. I don't know a better test than to have multiple devices show the same content and only one of them gets flagged for it and the others don't. So anyway, that's kind of part of the course. I have gotten some people in Ada Ross's store to, I didn't force them to, they like making fun of me, which is fine. It's their prerogative. And they have made their profile pictures just random pictures from my um, social media. And I think it's kind of funny that when they'll just insult me or something, and it's like, dog, your profile picture is a picture of me eating peanut butter in my underwear in a dress shirt from 2 years ago. And the other guy's like got a picture of me shaving in the bathroom with my shirt off, and that's from like a year ago. It's like they're just upping me. So keep on keeping on. I in my own way appreciate that. So yeah, we got that. I word. I'm very intrigued. Flattery is the highest form of flattery, and I agree. And I have had imitators out there, and um, it's more. Again, I don't care what you say about me. Just spell my name. And I want to see who that's attributed to. I've heard it before. It's generally in newspapers. Um, Now, people can say really mean things about you. I get that, and they can smear you, but I don't care what you say about me. Just spell my name correctly. You said it should be to give me a back. Okay. All right. Oh, it's P.T. Barnum. So the guy who did this stuff. Yeah. Um, publicity and the belief that any attention, even negative, was still valuable as long as people remembered. So I, in my own way, think that that's fine. I mean, say whatever you want about me, but um, I feel like the truth will set you free or set me free. When people are like, "Oh, okay, so you're just like a normal person who literally just restarts streams every 12 hours and archives the internet." Yeah, that's it. I don't know what else you want me to do. I mean, when I do things, when I have traveled, when I have gone and done IRL content, no one watched, zero people. And I did it for years. 2 years I did IRL content and no one watched it. It's just kind of one of those things. When you're doing 24/7 content, there's no like, hey, I'm going out and I'm gonna go do this, or I'm gonna this is what I'm doing. It's like you're always on, you're always streaming. So people just kind of take it for granted that that's what you're doing. Other people, other influencers, they don't stream it all the time, so they're like, they can do an announcement, hey, I'm going to be doing this on this date or whatever. I did that. I used to announce when I go for golf, no one would watch. I mean, I might get like a random guy in the India to watch for like 1 minute, and that's it. Like, I would do concerts, like outside of Capitol Records, I did a concert. Um, I would do like the outside Beverly Hills City Hall. I've done it outside the Irvine City Hall. I've done just no one watches. Um, and I get it. I'm not like a major influencer who has like 10 million people. When I go live, it sends all these notifications and everybody gets excited. But I just kind of recognize that my bread and butter is having connectivity and having a lot of streams going at one time. So do what I do best. And I do better than anybody. that Cato guy is in Wall Street Bets, and I hope. I mean, we've been nice to him. I hope he's. Oh, no way. They in Wall Street Bets. I used to have my microphone muted, and I used to have my license like I was server muted and server deafened, and they just do absolutely everything they can to fuck with me in there. But I'm no longer server muted and server deafened. I'm telling you, I'm reading the motherfuckers over. These are the guys who I'm going to win over. They are so toxic. I don't understand. Maybe it's just how I was raised, but to use racial slurs against someone, I just don't. Never thought that was cool. Whenever I heard them, like in a movie or something, I never liked it. As I got older, I just kind of thought that was small-minded thinking, and yet these guys think it's like funny to like make that like their username or use memes and stuff that use that, and I just I don't appreciate that. I don't think that that's wise. I mean, I just it's just not how I do. But for those people who do, I respect. Like this guy today, he was in here actually for a little bit. He was deafened, and I was trying to talk to him, but I could tell he's deafened, so he can't hear what I'm saying. He sent me like this like swastika over the Israeli flag, and I told him I noticed in his profile that he was a major free speech advocate, and I said, "Oh." He sent me some other shit too, just like I don't know, some guy sticking a dipper up his ass or something, just like very inappropriate stuff, which I get from people. It's just part of the course. Anyway, but I told him I support his right to say what he wants, and that leads over into sending what he wants. I feel that I'm a free speech absolute. I don't feel any type of speech should be constrained. And so, to me, you should be able to say anything you want to anybody. You should be able to give away government secrets if you want. You should be able to break uh, uh, non-disclosure agreements. I feel that those should be illegal in the United States. Why? Because the First Amendment says that Congress shall make no laws restricting whatever the exact language is, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, etc., etc. Until you get rid of the First Amendment, then all this other shit doesn't really matter. And I know it's all on like case law and it's just passed down, but still, there's a major conflict here. Just do what you want to do if you want to get rid of the shit and get rid of the First Amendment. Once you do that, then I can play by the rules of non-disclosure agreements and like um, keeping things classified due to national security. But there's just a major conflict in the law that I see, and it's bothersome to me. I still live by the credo of the First Amendment. The First Amendment is very important to me. And so even when people use it against me, I support it. It's that old adage, I may not support what you say, but I'll give my life for you to be able to say it. And while I don't want to give my life for anything, that's basically my philosophy. People use the argument, well, what about yelling fire in a crowded theater? And I make the argument, well, you should be able to say fire in a crowded theater if there's a fire. And then it's like, okay, well, what if there's no fire? Okay, then what happens? Then that motherfucker who yelled it, everybody's going to know who they are, and society's just going to make them listen to that person because they yelled fire in 1973 at a Regal Cinema in Graham or something. Like everybody will remember what you you did, I don't feel as if you have to say that it's illegal because that's a slippery slope until you get into day with national security. Then they basically don't have to say anything. When they say they, like government spokespeople, like the people um, whose salaries are tax dollars, for which our tax dollars are paid. And this is all I know that even though these guys are really mean to me, I respect what they say and think that they should be able to say. Well, they, yeah, I mean, I had this conversation. Right, I've had this conversation with people before. There isn't like a major neo-Nazi sentiment like anywhere in the United States. Like that's just there aren't like pockets of it. Like people aren't meeting in like I mean like the Ku Klux Klan is probably the closest thing to it. And I've gone right. Either Spanish or English. Right. Um, okay, even still though. When's the last time you met someone from the KKK? Exactly. Exactly. It's not like a thing. Yeah, exactly. It's not like a thing anymore. There's no necessary reason to fear. And if I do say there's anything that is related to that, it's these marchers of the Proud Boys, whatever the guys who wear like Hawaiian shirts, but they're all masks. That's the thing. And then when they get identified, it turns out they are FBI trainees, and they're just like this is just like a training mission, and they're wearing sunglasses and bandanas and stuff. And just I think that the media does a really good job to make it seem like there's a boogeyman out there, and I just don't fear the boogeyman. I just think that if we all treat each other as equals, or at least fairly, as best as we can, we'll be fine. And that shows. If you take children who are under a certain age, like 3, 4, 5 years old, they don't see color, they don't know that things are different, and they play fun. It's only once they're told that those people are different, that's when they start to treat people differently. But generally, there's a certain innocence that people have when you don't tell them that someone's out to get them or whatever. They can't stand it. And I see it. I see it from multiple communities, and basically, I I'm like the tip of the spear when it comes to people who are trying to hurt you with words or hurt you with um, just vocally or in written words. And I can tell you it's not fun, but in no way do I want these people to die or anything like that. If anything, I see it as an opportunity to change their opinion, and I love doing it. There's something extremely gratifying when someone comes in kid would punch a table. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you're not that much of an asshole. No, I did. I'm not, or or whatever your manipulated idea is of who I am, and then I win. Then I win huge because it's like that's the most difficult thing to do in society is essentially change someone's mentality on how they view you by your actions. It's incredibly powerful. So just I I'm someone who longs for a better day. But with that being said, that's that's the treatment that I get from just a lot of people. And uh, the Wall Street Bets people, like this morning, I talked with them more than I talked with them ever today. Normally, they just criticize me for whatever reason. And it's not a woe is me, like, oh, they don't like me. No, it's like they're taking straight up shots at me. I'm telling them, I hope they all have a good day. And they're just saying, fuck you, Rabbi. And it's like, okay, well, thanks, man. Um, but this morning, um, we talked at length. And the thing is, they think that they don't. I know they really don't because I'm live on camera. But they accuse me of being a robot. And it's just like, that's how I speak. I use complete sentences and I use, like, my grammar is generally accurate. And I don't just use common slang generally when I'm typing. And so then they're like, yeah, you're a bot. It's like, no, I'm not a bot. I'm a real person. No bot is saying, hey, dog, what's going on? Like, I do use some commonality. And it's just like, if they have nothing else to say to you, then it's audio bot. If they have nothing else to say to you, then they'll just say, it's like, okay, whatever. I did it. But I'm winning those guys over. It's very exciting that I have the ability to use my microphone and have deafen. And you watch, give me a week in there of just doing this. And when I wish them good things in the morning or whatever, I'll get some positive responses from that. So that's good. And the current Discord situation, I'm not. Do you know what black fruits is? I know I've asked you this, but do you know what it is? Black fruits. Black fruits. BLOX. What is black fruits? Just one moment. Okay. So it's I knew it had to do with Roblox. It's a popular online game on the Roblox platform. Yeah. So but it has millions of people in their Discord. So I'm in like two or three of their Discords. They just have a lot of people. I'm in the Socialize hasn't kicked me out. They're really nice. The one that did was I don't know at this point. There was another big one that kicked me out like a week ago. And I've been doing what I can to appeal. And the reason I got banned was because they said I'm an advertising brand. So I appeal. I say I'm a real person. You can ask me questions. My camera's on. What more do you want me to do? And when I sent that appeal, they said that I was not either contrite or I did not accept accountability. That's what it was. And it's like, I'm not going to accept the accountability of being the robot. So what do you want me to do? So I re-appeal. We'll see how that one goes. Eddie Ross, he hasn't streamed on Kick in like, I don't know, months. And the reason why is he, let's see. Yeah, he hasn't streamed it in a long time. And the reason why is because his contract ran out. So basically, he only streams if he's going to get paid big bucks to do it. And but at least he said he's coming back, and there are a lot of people in his Discord right now. And I'm the king of that Discord. I mean, I'm the number one streamer of all time, and it's getting to the point where, like, normally I would just be in there alone all day, no big deal. The reason why this was back in the day or something when I first started streaming in there, he used to have a lot of people in there every day, all the time. But then he changed it so that only like verified people could stream there, but I just kind of grandfathered in. So so it went from like maybe 50 people in there a day or like all the time to one. And I would be the only person in there. But now there are some people who just like to watch me and make fun of me or whatever. And so they'll be in there quite often and just they just game while I'm in there. So that's cool. It's just it's almost like oh, it would be like well, I describe it as this. Um, if you're at a party in someone's, let's say, backyard, and no one's in the pool, it no one's gonna just put on their swimming trunks and go jump in it. But if somebody's already in the pool, everybody will realize, like, oh, okay, it's cool. I'm not the first person who has to do this, and I'm basically like the person who just stays in the pool, and it makes it a lot easier for people to come in, and then they don't feel like they're the first person. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's got 15 people in there. Oh, these Wall Street Bets people. We actually agreed on something like incredibly this morning. So I have a bunch of different Discord accounts, and I went into the big Wall Street Bets Discord, which has like 400,000 people. And I went in there and I cleared out all of um, my profile so that it just said all I want to do is stream Bloomberg TV and make new friends. That's not advertising. That's very simple, and that's all it said. And I started streaming Bloomberg, and I was in there for like an hour, which was far longer than I thought I would be, before I just got kicked out. And why they kicked me out? Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. If I were to ask, they say because you're advertising, and then I can come back and say, well, I'm not advertising. Then they say, well, you used an alt account. I mean, it's basically like they have a bunch of different reasons why they can kick you out. So I asked the OG Wall Street Bets community, which has like 60,000 people. This is the one that I've been streaming a lot recently. I'm like, hey, what are your thoughts on that big Wall Street Bets Discord? They're like, oh, that one sucks. Those liberal douchebags, blah, 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 blah. Like, all these things. And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know if it's like necessarily I didn't know it was like a political thing. I don't think they're kicking me out for political reasons. But, and at least, well, and I don't agree that they're liberal douchebags. I think that it's all types of people in there. But at least the OG Wall Street Bets, they've become so toxic that they're just like I don't know. I think they think of themselves as being very conservative, but I don't even know what that means anymore. But they were very understanding of just how I would get kicked out of there very, very quickly, because I think generally they've all been kicked out of there very quickly. And somebody was saying like why they get kicked out of there, and that basically most people don't go a week anymore in that Discord without getting kicked out, just because I think because they were making fun of the moderation team. There's just like basically a core moderation team that also is on Reddit, and Reddit's very liberal, and if they don't like your profile, if they don't like your Reddit profile, they'll kick you out. And so I kind of think that that's an unfair way to do things. Like, just because I have a certain opinion on, I don't know, Instagram, does that mean that I shouldn't be able to use a different profile, different platform that has nothing to do with Instagram? You're gonna like do research on me and find out what my political leanings are and then kick me out? I don't really understand that. But I think it could have to do with, I know this sounds this is just a theory because I don't know exactly what I'm thinking. But if I look at my Reddit profile, I don't have a really good one because whenever I get any momentum on Reddit, I usually but my profile, if you look at like the active and loose communities, the big ones are Joe Rogan, Joey Diaz, um, Theo Vaughn, and the reason why anti-gravity, the reason why is I posted something in there and that's gotten some momentum, so those show up as my most popular communities, and that makes me look conservative, which is kind of hilarious because Joe Rogan has been liberal like his whole life. His parents are liberal, and but like just because of the way that the pendulum has swung, those people who were traditionally liberal are now even just considered conservative. Elon Musk, who was traditionally liberal, is considered conservative. Joe Rogan, even Donald Trump, who's traditionally a Democrat, is now the next president as a Republican. Exactly. And so, and I mean, for as much as I talk about a lot of things, I don't really talk about politics in here. And I do my best to avoid it. I don't think it's that's anywhere. It just kind of divides us, and there are things that unite us a lot more. Anyway, the second that they start to see that, they kick you out, and it's like, all right, I and the way I don't know if you've ever seen this. There's a chart that I went and saw. Just one moment. Let me see if ChatGPT. Yo, dog, can you please tell me of the top 500 Reddit subreddits, how many have the same moderators? Okay. Yeah, we don't have exact numbers. They do have exact numbers. Just so, okay. It's moderators, Reddit, subreddits. Basically, everything is being taken. And since you don't know who the Reddit moderators are or the admin team, you don't know that. Let's see here. No, there's this thing that I saw. They're like of the top 500 subreddits. Oh, okay, here it is. Percentage of 100. Okay, here it is. I analyzed the moderators of the top 100 subreddits, so not top 500, top 100. But you know, if you have like a country, the top 100 subreddits are very, very important, just in manipulating public opinion. All right, I analyzed the moderators of the top 100 subreddits by subscribers according to RedditList.com and found that there are only 30 users who moderate 5 or more of those subreddits, with only one user moderating 15 or more. In fact, 79.4 of all moderators in the top 100 only moderate one subreddit. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't some users who moderate upwards of 100 subreddits, because there are. However, most of those are not part of the core group of subreddits and are less significant in the overall image of Reddit. This is like the opposite of the argument that I'm trying to make. But let's see here. The pie chart is like a weird way to understand it. It'll make it easier to follow that. Basically, I feel that if you have 100 subreddits, you shouldn't have shared moderators in all of the subreddits or many of the subreddits at all. They should be like, if you're really into, I don't know, funny, Reddit funny, okay, you can be the moderator of that. But I don't feel that you should be the moderator of pictures and old school cool and all of the other big ones. I just don't think that's fair. But what ends up happening is um, moderators get very strong and they get friends with other moderators, and then it becomes the cesspool of the same people. Now, okay, here it is. Here it is. I found it. Hacker News. 92 of the top 500 subreddits are controlled by the same 5 people. That's what I want to stop. Why is it that 1/5 of Reddit are moderated by the same 5 people? I don't understand it. Little known fact: you can take over any subreddit if the creator mods haven't had any public activity in 60 days. So what do? They just wait for a big subreddit to kind of go a little inactive, and then they just take that one over. And I think I just think that's wrong. That there are, and who are those 5 people? No one knows who they are. They could be working for intelligence agencies. They could work for clandestine agencies. They could just be just losers. Who knows? But why is it that Reddit is 1/5 of Reddit is moderated by the same 5 people? I don't get it. Is Music Biz Marty streaming today?
I'm having a coffee. And I'm happy to know him that way.
He can express himself, I'm sure, in the way that you know him as over coffee too. It just requires like a focus of remembering. It's like a deep focus of connection. That's why I interact with folks. It's so draining for me because I'm putting all my whatever weapons I got in terms of like deeply trying to understand the person behind it. And doing that dance with interaction, the humor, the intense kind of delving into who they are. Which requires like navigating around like small talk type stuff and just like compliments and so on. In general, like, people depending on the culture, depending on the place, they'll sometimes a lot of stuff with smiling, like compliments, like oh, I love you, this is great, and that. Like that's all great, but you want to get to the core of like what are the demons in the closet and stuff like that, you know, and that could be exhausting. That can be really exhausting. So from the Latin perspective, to get more and more famous, it can be hard sometimes because he probably is also an introvert.
Oh yeah, I know he was an introvert because he actually tweeted about my book when it came out. So that was a precious moment for me. Something about I'm just not listening to the quiet. I can't remember exactly what he said. But yeah, and he definitely was.
He struggled with depression, which I wonder if that's something that's also connected to introversion. Not perhaps not actually. Perhaps it's very different. And also
it's connected to sensitivity, and many sensitive people are introverts. So it's kind of like a Venn diagram. About 80% of highly sensitive people are introverted, but then some are extroverts. And then not all introverts are sensitive, so it's complicated. But he was definitely a sensitive type.
because on top of that, you see like the percent of artists, the average of suffering from depression. So creative people, it's very high. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I remember artists, successful artists who were orphaned when they were young, who lost one parent or both parents, like an astronomical number. I don't remember the percent. Huge. He was amazing. He lost his father when he was 9. His first act of poetry was he put his father made soup. That's why I thought of him.
Yeah.
And he took one of his father's bow ties and wrote a poem in his honor and buried the poem and the bow tie in the backyard. And that was like his first creative act.
You know that song, Chelsea and Fell Number 2?
Sure.
Where he met, I guess it's called James Joplin.
Yeah.
What a fun, intense, and cool person she is. So I guess.
Have you ever seen, sorry to interrupt you, but have you ever seen his son Adam Cohn and Lana Del Rey perform that song together? It's incredible. I send it to you.
Yeah. So that for people who don't know, maybe I don't. It's Wendy Brown and Chelsea Hotel who were talking so great and so sweet, giving me head on the unmade bed while the limousines waited in the street. I don't know about being ugly.
Oh yeah, you're ugly, but we have the music.
No, before that, from a guy's perspective, it was.
Oh, you told me again you prefer handsome men. But for me, you make an exception. Yeah.
Okay. Well, she continued the route and later because I think she said that he was lost in bed.
Oh, that right?
Oh yeah, she publicly said that, which was like, man, is it just okay? For people who don't know, I think this is a true story about them interacting and being together for a very brief time and dating, just connected, falling in love with in this very particular way that I think famous musicians, poets can, which is like it's impossible for that kind of thing to last. But they did for a brief moment. There's like a sadness to it because it's so momentarily, but it's so epic.
Yeah.
You have these two paths cross there. You just think you can be one with these people. It's an interesting image.
Yeah, you don't even have the impression that they're thinking it's going to last. They more know that it's like a blaze of an intersection, and the limousines already waiting while they're in the middle of it, and then it's done. And he talked about how his music. He said something like, "Some people are more inclined to say hello with their music, but I'm rather more delicate to he was saying goodbye." So many of the songs really are about stem form and parting or goodbye or reflection or something, or like the broken hallelujah. But the thing that's so incredible about him is the way that he's taken all of that and pointed it in the direction of transcendence. It's not just pure sadness; it's sadness and beauty, and that's the thing.
Yeah, there is a feeling of transcendence in a lot of these songs. It's like sadness and transcendence. You're right. It's like goodbye, but you're moving on to some bigger thing. But in some ethereal, not like a proud, arrogant way.
Yeah. So his favorite poet was Garcia Lorca. He actually named his daughter after him. His daughter's name is Lorca. And he talked about how there's some poem that Lorca had written that made him realize that the universe itself was aching, but the ache was okay because that's the way you embrace the sun and the moon. And that's what I think is, that's why I think there's this whole rich vein and bittersweet tradition that he embodies. It's like the essence of beauty. And it's the way you embrace the sun and the moon.
The song Hallelujah, every chance I hear it, like for me to play it, I'm not playing. It's
You
just,
understand?
what sing it. They have to be good. Because then, but I would say yes. I was in a band for a while. I sang for a while. I was really bad, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I enjoy the lyrics. I enjoy
Yeah.
when sung, spoken, they capture something. Like again, that moment. Tom Waits is a huge favorite of mine for that reason. I love key off his lyrics are often not that thing. I rather have one like bottom in front of me than in front of the bottom. He's always playing just like this weird word play. It's especially in the English language, just trickier to do. I'm fortunate enough to know another language, which is Russian, so I get to understand certain languages a lot more one play that others. English, for that reason, I don't think has a like culture. You know what? We need to push back on the old policy, but there was no culture of word play until hip hop came around. So like distorting words in interesting ways for them to be a rhythm, rhyme, and at the same time capturing some really powerful message, plus humor. All of that mixed in. Actually, hip hop does really good with this, but there wasn't a tradition. If you look at poetry in the 20th century, there wasn't really a tradition of that in the United States, but there was in other parts of the world, and so in Russia. Empowered also not just by language, but the fact we go through a number of times millions of people die. Something about mass death of civilians that inspires great literature.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you start following the
There's no more reason for small talk.
I always have thought that if I could choose any other medium besides writing, it would be singing. But then, no, I mean, like, I'm really not. I love the idea of it. But then I also think, I'm fundamentally a shy person, so I think it's much better that my medium is writing instead of thinking. So, like, it all works out.
That said, you're also exceptionally public speaker, and you're not supposed to be mathematically speaking.
Mathematically speaking,
You're not supposed to be a good public speaker.
Oh, you mean because of shyness? Or...
Yeah, because of shyness, because of introversion.
Oh, yeah, but most of the people who public speaking. This is funny. I knew this from the studies, but then also when I started going out on the lecture circuit, I realized that all my fellow speakers at all these conferences I was going to, they're all introverts. Because, they're all people who spent years figuring out some idea, and now they're out there talking about it.
And they're figuring out the idea.
Yeah.
How do you explain the public speakers? Would you say the good public speakers are usually introverts?
No, I think there's just different styles of it, and I think that we just have, when we hear the word public speaker, we have a really limited idea of who that person would be. So for me, like, I used to be very phobic about public speaking, and part of the reason for it is because I thought that being the kind of person I was didn't equal being able to be a good public speaker. Because you're only imagining super out there showman.
Come on, quit being a little bitch.
But I think there's another style of public speaking that's more reflective, thoughtful, and conveying ideas, and people like that too.
Is there anything else you can give
It's the power of introverts and loneliness. Susan Cain.
I would give that advice because I used to, before I would give speeches, if I had to do it in law school, I knew like today was the day when I was going to get called on in the law school class. I literally one time vomited on my way to class. That's how it used to be. And yeah, the way to do it is through desensitization. You can figure it out. The way to overcome any fear, you have to expose yourself to the thing you fear, but in very small doses. So I can't start like a hedgehog. You have to start. I started by going to this class with for public speaking anxiety. And the first day, all we had to do was stand up and say our name and sit down. And that's the big deal.
That's fun to watch. Okay, that's the first step. One step at a time.
Yeah, and like with this class, we go back the next week, and he would have us come to the front of the room and stand up with other people standing next to us, so that You didn't have the feeling of being all alone in the spotlight. There were others sharing it with you. And you answer some questions about where do you grow up, where do you go to school. And you declare victory, and you're done. And then little by little by little, you keep ratcheting up the exercises until you get to the point where you can do it. And then you start having successes, and you realize, oh, maybe I can.
What about writing versus improvising? Yeah, usually people.
Well, actually, I have two of them.
Times another.
That's that you're
Just
supposed to
like,
light
right thing.
one
really
candle for each time.
practice it. It
That's
helped
the
me.
Hill way.
I
But
don't think I've
the
ever
Shammai way says that you're supposed to start with the eighth and work your way down. And since I'm of the argument that no one knows, then we do both.
I definitely like to prepare before, but the kind of
The one that I
preparation
use in my side.
is completely different from what I've done for everything else. 'Cause I talked to more like a theatrical event where it's like a one-person show. And
Well,
of course, if you were to
I'm not
go
aware
to
of
Broadway with you were just kind of like that. And so I would rehearse it over and over.
and nobody
No one ever seen it work.
It's so much anxiety because, yeah, you're not even so freaked out about being on stage. So it's like, what if I forget something? Yeah.
And then I used to like
I mean, if they do things
Shabbat
like the
cameras
last time I talked with you,
I
I
had
actually
Shabbat.
did forget something halfway through
Yeah.
because I just couldn't remember.
I
And
really
it's like,
like do it up until
and so I have to walk over there or do it. And so I did that, and the audience
it happened.
kind of clapped.
So
Like, and then I came
sometimes we'll
back to
have like 2-day
spotlight
holidays
and
and
going,
3-day
and I
holidays
did that
and we need a special candle to be lit that night. And
Yeah.
they
It seems
wonder
really,
why I have this candle going for
it
so
seems really
long.
stressful. Like I
Like
am
now
not
that
a
I think I
rush
know
for that other publisher.
I could just not have fire because I could go 10 people in there.
Mostly it's for
I
personal
recognize
journey, but I've been working on a
that
series
was a
with
request of theirs.
it and the Third Reich. So I was looking at the historical context
So
of
I
it
will.
because of nothing from
They're nice enough to allow
that
me
whole
to
part
write
history. So for me to rigorously
Shabbat
read
and
up law,
cover
that's
that
the
area.
only way to
And
for me to
then I
force
just
myself. One of the best ways
have
to
to learn out.
force yourself to read to fit into it is to have to talk about it.
And
So
I don't have
that's what I'm doing. But I'm playing with ideas of some of it, maybe 80% is written down on paper, but the rest of it is when it's back to the written.
The ones
It's
that
difficult because describe it.
very
If
easy
you
to
write a
do,
lot,
just
you
use
make
the
it more precise,
and
but
when
you
you twist
be
them
more accurate, but you're going to miss some of the deep
for each day. And
emotion. The science is going to be correct.
the people
The science is between the words and capture.
yeah, it's a great first house. There's a Filipino guy that ended up on a store. I had another Filipino guy that been
Basically, even though
Well,
the
what
students
people
were ready to improvise between them, they were able to
I
that's a skill.
got really close to
like
local
you get to a stage, you memorize everything word for word, and at first, in
then
that
you get
process,
some
it
people
comes out in a really good way, where it fits. Like the emotion comes. But once you really know it, you can memorize the word, then all the emotion comes back. You say it a completely different way. You know, you're really speaking it from the heart. But you do it so well.
We always have to
I would never recommend it because it's just like
the ones that
And
I
that's where in your case, I was like, when it is a theatrical, musical, I'm going to pick up the main show and go like, see, this guy was
we're going to talk about and everything we're doing. I think media just speaking into a microphone without the video.
I considered it,
Here's stuff is
but
so,
like right here,
this podcast originally, before there was ever this little video component to it, I realized this stuff is so micro.
they also, well,
Having
kind of
someone's
weird.
voice
I
in
asked
your ear.
one of the
And my favorite kinds of
rabbis,
interviews still,
so there are two
very
rabbis, one of the
difficult.
rabbis asked me,
My favorite
I'm
clients
gonna
are
look at this person, and I
you just
said,
have talking into the microphone. So it's not over Zoom.
Let me
It's not in person.
check.
It's just
Let me
you and the microphone and the other person.
Yeah,
It's not even your ear. Ultimate intimacy.
Oh, you
So
mean
I think,
pictures
Yeah, but it would be interesting also
and they
this kind of thing you're talking about speaking. It's really like
I wish we
all
all
in
in
close,
close,
but it's
it's
kind of
just
interesting to me that one rabbi
two different.
they're
person
there.
in the family
Yeah,
Oh.
talk and whatever.
So
Because I think you
Yeah.
still have to stay.
I've been pretty
It's not just the
it's the
vision.
people in the house and understand how it's actually. They know that
I just
I
think that
Yeah.
I don't know if the biggest thing is something
they
about
allow
the
me
way
to have a separate area.
where some people actually have headphones on. Like
They allow me to have a hot plate.
not to like there's
Just
something
some
about
other like
that
things
sound
that normally I
that
know that
Yeah.
yeah, there is something problem that for sure. I
they
think
wouldn't allow necessarily.
I've thought about it.
But
Some of my
the big
favorite
one is
podcasts like that,
having a culture
WTF
for
with Brian
my
Ryan, it's audio. It's the
I
few
understand.
audio.
I kind of at times felt
I
like, well, I
still
can
go
still
on
do it,
Clubhouse,
but
those
it could very
social
easily
media platforms, audio only. It's
you know,
huge.
I have a good relationship with everybody.
They thinking about couples, particularly people
We
from
have
our
a
culture,
good
to women relationships.
Yeah.
It's something that's so easy situation because I don't
So long as
feel
the
any of
candidate
my introvert
and
like triggers because nobody can see you, right? And nobody is offended if you're just sitting there quietly, just listening.
one time that
You can
the
just
father
go wherever you
the
want.
guy in the house
Yeah,
asked
it's like the ultimate social media. You have to listen as much as you like. It's just like, you want to see it, not to make it feel. Yeah. Yeah.
you want to come every
This
single
party,
day,
somebody's gonna look at me.
6 in the
Wanna,
morning,
there'll be
Yeah.
impressions.
you want to go through all of the
That kind of audio stuff. And there's that, like you can, this audio,
once you read that about
you
the
and yourself.
I'm okay with it.
Honest way.
It just means their action. That's
Yeah.
I think a lot about
I don't know,
their
but
action.
I think it's something
And
like we used to tell stories in the fire. There's a
not that I
storytelling
don't think you necessarily,
tradition as well.
yeah, I don't know
Originally.
necessarily practice.
Maybe that. But we use visual stuff. It's,
They were not like muscle.
seems like
Kind of
it
a
seems like the visual
They
elements
were
of the social interaction. There's something I remember that is still that's why I mean most people listen to podcasts
So that's
are in the United States. They have them in their ears more than just stuff. And then there's that's
It's a very
fun.
rich house, and I love that.
That's weird.
We all get along. We all respect each other. There's one guy with I got along with everybody.
Board experience.
Previously lived in his room, and then he moved in, and he just kind of like
The
became
world of podcasting is fascinating because we're in this world that is essentially radio.
aggressive.
All this high
Like,
definition.
and he would just get into other people's business that like basically where we live.
I know, there's no excuse to do
There
that.
are
But
certain
at the end of the day, I think
like
that's
we
still
don't have
so
air
much
conditioning, so
to talk to each other and see what people really think.
I would
Podcasting, all the media that I've ever seen is the one where people come
I would
places
openly,
on the
well, there's air conditioning. I shouldn't say that, but they don't turn it on
street to come
all the time.
the video of the street and all of
Actually,
So we keep the window open in the bathroom,
I have to explain to
and
people
he came in
that we talk to
and put a
CEOs.
screw in
They
the
don't
bathroom
understand.
window so that
They
the
don't understand. It's
going
fine.
to. And I told
Now,
the
as a
the
hard
guy who
point,
owns the house, I'm like, look, this
that
guy
CEOs
is coming
it has to be
over, like, just aggressive.
because
I don't want him
there's
in the
something
same
we
area.
can't
Basically,
do
like if
stuff.
if he's gonna be in his,
It's not being human, it's not being
like basically, I use one bathroom. If there's an emergency, I use one in the other bathroom.
Anyway,
Yeah, when
And
I
I
was
feel
there,
that that should be the way it is. He shouldn't come and use our bathroom every single time. It's not near it. And he would just do that, I think, to like we were doing inspection and like deep nose when I would basically leave everything spotless. And it's like, look, we're fine with how these people are. They've been living here for like 8 years, 9 years. This guy comes in and he wants to do inspections. Get the fuck So there's one guy that
Yeah, I can't tell it.
I
It's just
don't
very
necessarily
The other,
buy things that much, but everybody else, even
the other
if
part
we had
that
turnover,
I think you could do a
we
really
used
good
to
job.
have
The Guinness Book.
we
It's
used to
actually challenging for everybody.
lived on the
It's
floor
much
of
harder
the
for everybody.
dining room, and he was just
Because if you could do, you know, the which is super
he and I
good.
became very good friends. We used to get together. We would. He had like
Or just get to the
he
core
had like
right
friends.
after
This is not why I was
professional.
special.
Too many people
Just have an interest in
in
he had
that
a friend
short
in a car, like an exotic car dealership in Irvine.
They did
So
stuff.
he would every once in a while be able to just drive like
They do
super cars around just for
you get one
whatever.
extra question.
And
Well, ask the
yeah,
weirdest.
he was a very nice guy.
That also energizes.
There was one guy.
It's an art form.
This is
People don't take seriously.
the guy lives. The guy lived at Rabbi. He was a very nice guy, but I think he was an alcoholic.
Yeah, I have
And
noticed
when he would get to be
many of
he
the
wasn't mean or anything.
doctors or ones where we're on my side of the
He
table,
wasn't mean.
we feel like it's more of a conversation.
Like he would always knock on the
And
door.
then you're opposite
And that's fine.
if you
I
got
mean,
those
nothing though, like if you're
really
doing it,
interesting how different
not
the
you doing
experience
it
is.
versus when you
You're
are.
right.
I don't know if you're picking up on what's going down. That's just
You can lose yourself.
and then one time you get that.
And you
You
don't
know,
know
like the
stupid stuff. People, I see that people are getting up there.
basically, though, for as
You
many
may
different
not be aware of how
cultures we have in the house,
it's incredible conversation is the net. It makes you forget that everything's being recorded.
I think
That you're talking it all. It makes you forget time. You just enjoy yourself.
and
That's
or like you can knock out the power.
and that part.
Like there are just like little things that I have to go through, like the bathroom's taken, but aside from
What's your
that,
favorite amount
I
of
don't really change
Famous
it.
movie quote. You know that one? Yeah. For people who don't know what we're going, this is your first introduction to it. This is so goofy.
Wait, that's exactly how I refer to it, and I've done that in the past. I really liked it. We had a Muslim guy, a Jewish guy, and
Just
a
like how
Christian
really
guy,
jump up with
all next door to each other, never fought.
really good.
And I would say, if we can, I used to say this all the time, if we can do it
But famous
in
movie
our
quote,
house,
for
why
people who
can't we
don't
do
know,
it?
it's basically about a love triangle. And it's told from the
Yeah, we
perspective
were all
of a man whose wife has just been with another man who is also
about
his friend.
understanding
He's
everybody.
writing a letter to that other guy. And he's reflecting on the way that other relationships in the way he has. Again,
You're still
Yeah.
friends.
so we're still well, he refers to him as my brother.
Yeah,
So
I would say that
just after what is going
we were able to get
it's
along
always
without
like,
getting
it's light and it's dark all at once. These are all one thing.
the guy from Ukraine a lot of times will ask me to translate something for him. He was at school in my community,
Yeah, really?
and he moved in right after the war, which I kind of feel like he just basically was like trying to get out of the war zone, which I completely understand.
He just
And
speaks.
he's very clean and very. Oh, the one thing I can't stand about him is not a huge thing, but he is
And the
very.
fact that it's 4 in the morning at the end of December, it doesn't
He's
seem
very
very
clean, but
clean.
he's very violent comes up this year.
Night going into day,
So,
and it's December going into the new year. It's
aside from that, though,
not an
it's
accident.
a good roommate. His English is improving.
There's something about the sound, but
The guy from the
there's certain
Philippines,
scenes
he's like
that came to mind.
um, it's like
There's a poem by Charles Bukowski called Nirvana.
not
It's a young man
like
traveling from nowhere in snow. There's something about the snow. With the rain or the snow, puts you in a certain kind of mood. What's the James Joyce, the dead, this snow is falling. I wouldn't.
one of
Yeah,
them,
put you in a place.
I mean, David Gaiman, who's
it's
the researcher
It's
in
not like we all sit
psychedelics
down
and
and
consciousness
look
at
together.
Johns Hopkins. He's a great guy. And he's done research that is saying that when people are in your transitional moment of life. It could be a career change, it could be a divorce, it could be that they're nearing the end of their life. That they very often, you say, those are the most meaningful moments. And so I feel like that's what Leonard Cohen was going to happen to. I think that a year after he died, his son and Cohen made a memorial concert for him in Montreal, where they lived, and performed his music. And my husband, who's not a Leonard Cohen fan, he's not a bittersweet type at all, but he knows how I feel about it. He's like, you should really go to that concert. And I felt so ridiculous. The whole family went all the way to Montreal on a Monday.
On a Monday.
On a Monday, it was like a random Monday. And got on the plane, so everyone's out of school, just so I can go to this concert. And I got there, and at the beginning, I was thinking, like, oh, this is all a terrible mistake, because all these other musicians playing this music, and I don't actually really want to hear them. I'd rather listen to them on YouTube. Yeah. And then a musician named Damien Rice came and played Famous Blue Raincoat, and he sang it. And he did the most amazing thing. But the whole thing was amazing. But then at the end, he sang this musical riff that was like, all I could say is that it was like a musical lamentation of the ages. And the whole audience rose silently to its feet. And it was one of the greatest moments we've ever had.
There's sometimes certain artists in cover can capture in some kind of deeper way, like carrying the thread of the power of the song. So I've been listening a lot to Johnny Cash, which is an Irishman, Trent Reznor song.
When I reached out to you, because I love that interview, and I love that song also.
Yeah, so there's that. There's the Kennedy Center Honors, where they celebrated some artists that did that thing that's happening. I forgot what her name is, but they used to your heart perform Stairway to Heaven. And it's like, you feel like, all right, you take, the greatest of the rock songs of all time, and you do it in front of, the cool thing is you get to perform this in front of the artist, and they're still there, they're still alive. You get to watch you sort of perform. Is President obviously, she's just knocked it out of the park, but at the same time, without outdoing the original. Somehow,
Right, you're just making it your own.
You're making it your own,
Right.
but not
Overlapping
completely, not departing from the spirit of the original. It's tough because the original Hollywood by Leonard Cohen, it's just not. It's so powerful, but it's just not as good.
Well, I think it's the words and the melody, and then the covers take it to a different place.
The thing that Leonard Cohen seems to do well is that he did that on Hallelujah, because he was almost being playful on Hallelujah, as opposed to that deep melancholy, like painful, longing thing that Jeff Buckley did, and others do too.
I wonder if it's because he that he over edited it, but he apparently worked on that song for years and went through gazillions of versions and cut most of them out. So I wonder if we're hearing his version after he's like a little tired with that process.
Yeah, but that's the other thing is maybe from a quick to it's like you get tired of saying the same thing over and over and over. You forget the
like the initial part of it.
Yeah, but I actually I got a chance to hang out with Dan Reynolds, who's the lead singer of Imagine Dragons. This incredible band, super pop. It's the most played band on Spotify.
Is that right?
It's
Imagine Dragons days when we were listening to their music a lot.
It was so surreal to be hanging out and it was such a like very few people I've met in my life are just as good as a human being. And that has to do with the fact that he struggles. He still struggles, but he struggled for a long time with depression.
Mm-hmm.
And so out of that pain, you see this really good human being, this really good relationship with his wife, like when times are good, they lean on each other. deeply grateful for those precious moments. So it's beautiful to watch. But he said that it's really important to feel the song every time. Otherwise, people know. People are really good at detecting your bullshit. You can't fake it.
Yeah.
You really have to feel it every time. You have to feel the emotion of it, whatever the emotion is. Of the original time, you wrote it. Yeah, which is interesting because I thought you could maybe fake it, but he believes because it's played in front of gigantic crowds and over and over and over and over. It's like, no, every time you have to be there.
But there's got to be times when he's about to go out and he's not feeling it, and he has to figure out some way of getting himself into that hurt space.
And that's what he's saying. You have to, otherwise you're just that's the job.
Right.
Don't do the job then. And he loves it. He says the biggest struggle, in fact, is the come down from that, which is like it's such a beautiful experience of connecting with this large number of people, sharing a song of, and it's just a rush of connection. And you have to, when you get off stage, you're now back to normal life. And that's why a lot of musicians get into heavy drugs and all that kind of stuff because you're looking for that rush again. It's very tough to go into this. Speaking of introvert, because he probably is an introvert, as like you have to find that calmness. And how do you find your calmness when you're just playing in front of tens of thousands of people, 100,000, whatever that number is? That rush of connecting, everybody, there's love in the air, and you still have to find that.
Interesting, because I don't know if this is the introvert in me talking, the writer in me talking, but I don't know. Like I love most moments where I'll get a letter from a reader who will tell me what something I wrote meant for them, and they'll talk about having had that kind of moment of a communion between the writer and the reader. And obviously, I wasn't there physically when it happened, so I wasn't getting that kind of rush that a musician would get in a concert. But just the knowledge of that having happened out there in the world do just something that added to it.
Yeah.
Most amazing.
You love it. But see, imagine
Yeah.
reading like thousands of those letters, and then it's such a strong rush with everything else. It could be overwhelming, I guess. But like anything else, you have to balance those. Like, for example, the danger with getting letters like that, you start taking yourself too seriously. You think like you are a special person, but that's you really want to go that feeling too.
Yeah, I actually experienced this that much different from when I'm on the other side of it. Like, if I'm the reader, who some other writer doesn't feel that way, it's the same thing.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So it's a cool, it's a virtual hub.
I think it's like I was just listening to something about the different Russian writers. I was mentioning it to this academic. His name is Gary Solmorson. He studies Russian literature. He was talking about, hopefully get this right, but basically that people misunderstand the words like Anna Karenina, and that we think of it as telling us that you're supposed to live and you're supposed to have like grand, tempestuous romances that might end in death or despair or whatever it is, but you should be in it for the intensity of the emotion. And he's saying actually that's not what, it's exactly not what Tolstoy was saying. That actually it was the opposite. That he was really advocating for everyday life. He was saying themes from everyday life. He was juxtaposing Anna Karenina with all these other couples who were just living happily and quietly day by day. And that was what he believed was the idea. So, as opposed to the grand rush, as opposed to the intensity.
I wonder if is there a depth? Is there a romance that's just day to day?
There is a romance for the day to day.
Don't get distracted by the dopamine roller coaster ride of the grand romantic emotions.
Yeah, and enjoy it while it's happening, because those are life experiences also, but not to mistake those for being everything.
Where is he from?
He's a professor at Northwestern, and apparently his lectures are like the most popular on campus.
People love it. Gary Saul Morrison is an American Indian critic that Slavics particularly in North, is commonly known by the great Russian novelists Leo Tolstoy and Fyodor Dostoevsky. Orson is known as the professor in Guinness at Rothschild University. Wow, and there's a lot of incredible work. And then I'm sure looking through the lens of Russian literature, the love that's about that, you look at my
Yeah. I think you should talk to me about that.
and quiet flows the vodka, or when Pushkin comes to shove, the curmudgeon's guide to Russian literature, which is one of the silly tricks he has.
Um,
What do you say?
oh no, I was just saying, yeah, like, I find that when I take photos on my phone, I hardly ever focus at the moment you're supposed to. Like everybody's gathered for some event, I'll forget to take a photo. But I take a lot of like things from everyday life. Because that's what I actually don't remember in the end.
Yeah, I'm the same. Just say it's actually concerning. It's vastly hard to me because I love everyday life so much. And why do it?
Your productivity is pretty good. You know that you have to worry about.
I do. So I don't want you just. I have a dream outside. This is like a fun side thing. I want to. There's been a lifelong passion. It's I like building. I like building stuff, and I haven't been doing that as much as I would like. That's because largely, I like sitting in silence and enjoying the beauty that is just nature and life. And there's people. I love people. I love everything. So when you love everything, why go through hell to be happy?
Yeah. I mean, I think you have a really good reason for wanting to do it.
But then your heart calls you. Sometimes you look out at the mountains and you say, for some reason, I'm going to go there, even if it means leaving the tribe and putting yourself in danger. Shit, that's the human imperative for exploration.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when we were talking about, this idea of longing being like the source code of humanity, I think that's also the source code of creativity. The same longing for eating. Like, you're always reaching for something that you want to get to or that you want to build.
Yeah.
The best of it.
What do you think? Uh, you read about creativity and sadness. Practically speaking, how should we leverage sadness for creativity? Is that in the artist domain, the writer's domain, the engineering domain, so on?
It's definitely those domains, but it's in all domains. We all have this pain in this life at some point. We all have the ability to weather it and withstand it and live with it for a bit and then try to transform it into something that we find beautiful. Uh, and it's very easy to notice the grandeur of the painting on the gallery wall or a new company that's just been created, but it takes 1,000 different forms, right? And you can bake a cake. And like in the wake of the pandemic, we've had more people applying to medical school and nursing school. And after 9/11, we have people applying for jobs as firefighters, teachers. So there's something in the human spirit that takes pain and turns it into meaning when we're at our best. And when we're not at our best, we deny the pain and take it out on ourselves and on other people. So there's a kind of fork in the road what to do with it. But we know, I mean, there's all these studies that I go through in the book. There was one where the researchers had people watch different movies, happy movies, sad movies, bittersweet movies. And they found when people watched Father of the Bride, like the ultimate bittersweet, walking with your daughter down the aisle kind of feeling, that was, they would give them creativity tasks after watching these different movies. The people who had been primed for bittersweetness were the most creative. They were like primed for finality, like love and finality. Like landing and home. There's something about that gets us to our most beautiful state.
I wonder if there's studies like that. If you look at the terrain that they
Yeah, that's really interesting.
so they especially intensely like you focus on. And it's just sad but traumatic like death. Finding your death and seeing how it changes your life. accomplish creativity studies, but they have interesting, I think, a little bit tainted by political bias, but maybe not. I mean, psychology is a complicated field, but they study like who you like to vote for.
Right.
If you're primed by existential, like by thinking about
Fear mortality.
I think the person going to
I think they find that people will become more tribalistic. You know, like there's one study where they found that after they find people that way, that they would give them a chance to put hot sauce on a meal because they thought we're going to be eating, and they put way too much hot sauce on it after they just time worry about that.
I think it's the core for simple creatures.
So I actually, like, in the book, I spent a bunch of time with people who are working on radical life extension and successfully forever. And people ask a lot of questions like, you know, the kinds of questions you were talking about earlier. Like, how are you going to feed everybody? And how is there going to be space for everybody if everyone really can live forever? And but what about conflict? When we have intensified conflict? And their answer to that is they point to care management data. And they say, because this is fear of death, they're basically saying it's fear of death that is causing our conflict in the first place. And if we remove the fear of death, we'd have less conflict. And that, I don't know about it.
It's possible that that's true, but are you also, as the expression goes, throwing out the baby with the bathwater? Are you also going to remove basically any source of meaning and happiness in the human condition? Like it's very possible that death is fundamental to the human condition. It's a finality.
Yeah, that's a great philosophical question. I went to a conference with people who were working on this, and I thought that they were going to be talking about those questions through the conference, but the MO is much more like, we're so happy that we're here with people who got past all those hurdles. And we just know there's going to be meaning no matter what.
The basic assumption is let's try to extend life definitely, and then we figure out if that's a good decision.
More like we're sure.
Or
Or at least
it's a mix.
that was what I thought.
It's either sure. It's either we're sure it's a good decision, or we're sure that it's we can believe that it's a good decision. Meaning, like, there's no downside to that, even if we find out it's wrong. Yes, there's a kind of certainty. Obviously, you have to expand. It always seemed like, it could be true, but just like the people who over focus on colonizing other planets, it feels like you can collect the beauty and the struggle of that sort of same kind of criticism. Always thinking about Valhalla, where you wanted to like, as you have, if you're not careful, forget to make this life good, whatever happens afterwards. So, yeah, definitely. But from the engineering and the biology and the chemistry perspective, it's very interesting to think how do we extend this thing, because it does seem that nature, the way it's designed, living organisms, it really wants us to die because that's part of the selection mechanism. It's part. It seems to be fundamental to evolution. It gets people young. They lose protection. For a young brain, they get to explore life. They get to figure out the world, they connect their own novel ideas, start to adapt and how to respond to that world. And then as they get older, they get like stubborn and stuck in their ways. And so you need them to die, so you need room for new life that's able to adapt to the changing environment. The old doesn't die, but you're not going to get stale and not be adapted to the changing environment.
Maybe it doesn't have to happen with you.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't. It's like Preston Smith. I'm a big fan of Preston Smith. And the alarm clock, I would, in the same way, I'm one of the people that believes well, I don't definitely believe, of course, I don't know, but I think death is a fundamental part of life. But yeah, I'm on my deathbed, I'll shoot help her snooze as many times as possible.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. In some ways, I really I share your instinct. There was one scientist we spoke to at that conference. He's one of the leading advocates, and he said, that's a story that we invented for ourselves because we have no choice. And if you really believe that you have no choice, then it's adaptive to tell that story. That gives meaning to life.
Good point.
But if you really think if you really think you could triumph over it, would you still be telling that same story? And I've been thinking about that question ever since.
Yeah. Well, they got a good point. No matter what, hearing the scientific perspective. Your personal life, if you can go there.
Sure.
What's have been some dark places you've gone? Grief, loss, sad moments of sadness that have made you a better writer, a better creator, but
Well, I mean, I've been through a lot of bereavement just in these last couple of years with COVID, but even before that, all kinds of stuff I wrote about in the book, and in some ways I feel like I can write about those kinds of things better than I speak them. But I had a really complicated relationship with my mother growing up, where we had a kind of Garden of Eden during my childhood. We were intensely close. And my mother, because of the vulnerabilities that she had, reacted with a lot of trouble to my adolescence and to growing independent from her and starting to have religious views and different political views and all kinds of things. And we had a pretty intense break that I described in the book. And it was so intense that even though after that we sort of would get together for holidays and talk to each other on the phone and all that, there was a sense in which like it was over at that point. The relationship was over.
the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, it was like a feeling of like, yeah, like I know what Eden was like, and it's not there anymore. And I think it was all the more confusing because if you lose someone to actual bereavement, you go through the mourning process and people have thought for thousands of years about how to do that. But with something like this, there's no process because you're not even admitting to yourself, especially when you're in teens and 20s, that you're mourning something. So, but it was the case that for decades, I could not answer even the simplest question about my mother, like where did she grow up, without tears in my eyes, or more than tears in my eyes, embarrassing tears. So I would just try to steer the subject in another place. But I will say, two things happened. One is that I spent the last 6-7 years writing this book about joy and sorrow and loss and love and all of it. And I've really come to terms with all of it. And then the second thing that happened is my mother now has Alzheimer's. And in her Alzheimer's, she's still actually the same person. But she's forgotten most things, but she still has these conversational lanes that you can travel down that are like the way she always was. And the way that she was when I was a kid, which was like so incredibly loving, so connected, so warm, sweet and funny and all of it, all the things I remember, it's all come back. And for all these decades, I had been wondering whether that Garden of Eden I remembered had actually happened, or whether, that was just like the fantasy of a child, and, maybe it was always difficult and I had not seen it. But I'm seeing her now, and I realize it was all true. Everything I remembered, it was all true. It all happened, because it's happening again.
You return to the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
Childhood. If there was a question,
Well, I don't know. I don't even know if I could ever change because I'm a different person now, and I don't need her.
you sure? You sure?
Yeah.
You sure different than the 10-year-old?
Well, okay.
You feel different?
No, I mean, I'm the same person who sort of my need for love and love of love and all of that, but I don't look, I'm not dependent on my mother for it the way I was then. And that makes the experience really different.
Yeah, she's a god figure. Well, what is that with the roots to parents? It's such a funny civilization. And there's a depth of connection to parents. It's probably more powerful than anything else in terms of its formative effect on who you are.
I think it's the most powerful. And in fact, when this started happening, I got to college and I took a class in creative writing, and I tried to write a story, a fiction story, a fictionalized version of what was happening. And I called it The Most Passionate Love because of what you just said. And the teacher actually said to me, he's like, you put this story in the drawer and not take it out again for 30 years because you're way too close to it. So now I'm finally written it 30 years later.
Yeah, you probably still keep those.
I don't know though. I mean, I do think I think everybody goes through experiences in this life where you're experiencing like a fundamental pain of separation and desire for a union, and it takes so many different forms. And this was my primal form of it. That for someone else, it's betrayal or bereavement or exile from the country of their birth or whatever it is. But
And you get to solve that puzzle.
yeah, I really do believe that the original love that we long for, like that one of the great things that you learn as you grow older is that the love exists in some plane that's more general than the particularized form in which you first realize.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, despite all the creepy interpretations, why even though some of is probably wrong in the details, was the first one to sort of suggest that our experiences, I mean, he said that was really controversial at the time. Young people, they start having sexual thoughts like at age 2 or something, whatever he said. So you develop this kind of connection to the opposite sex or whatever, to your mother, to your parents. And I think a lot of that is probably not true. What is like a deeper truth is your first early experiences of love or depth of connection probably somehow strongly formed with the conception of love and the definition of the perfect thing you're reaching for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I think it's great. And you can really see it when you become a parent too. You can just see there's
Don't screw it up.
you know I have to say, I mean, nothing good actually to like we're doing pretty well. Like my kids are teenagers now, and I really had thought that I wasn't going to repeat the issues that I've been through with my mom. I really not. Yeah, like my mom, for various reasons, just had a lot of trouble with my independence. I just don't feel that at all.
Yeah, there might be other things you're totally blind to.
I guess that's possible.
Is that the way of parenting? Is you solve the problems of the past?
There's some other new one. I guess I'll find out in years. But so far so good.
What wisdom about parenting can you give from your own experiences that you're writing?
Yeah, well, let's say. So on the bittersweet side of things, the wisdom that I would give is that, especially for kids who are growing up in relative comfort and everything going pretty well, they get the idea that real life is when things are going well, and when things don't go well, it's like a detour from the main line, as opposed to understanding that it's all really good. And I tell the story in the book of this time that we went on a family vacation where we rented a house in the countryside, and the house was next to this field where there's
Don't you sandbagging son of a bitch. Are you ready, big dog?
We're spending all this time feeding carrots to the donkeys, and it's all beautiful.
Dude,
And then
there's this thing
to
called communication.
2 days.
When someone talks to
They're
you,
never gonna see these
normally you
donkeys.
respond,
And they start crying
goes
and
back and forth until you both get
and
bored or
usually
something.
there's like
Have you heard of it?
parents like fade moment like that. Maybe there's another family will feed the donkeys. None of that is any different. But when
All right, I can barely hear you. What's going on, big dog?
His life and
Yeah, like a motherfucker. Excellent. Are you ready? Yeah. Should happen. Casper, would you like to play? Dude, I'm gonna look for a monkey head. Dude, you ready for this hole? Ready to see things that you've never seen before in your entire life? You ready to see this game played by a champion of all champions? Look at this shot. I'll take that. Pretty amazing. If I do say so myself. Dude, please rank my shot on a scale of 0 to 10. It's a 9. It's definitely a 9. Oh, Zoo. Zoo. What do you rank your own shot? Oh, come on. Well, hit your shot. Or don't. I'm going to let Rice roll play. Rice. No, still no. Dude, what do you think of this shot? Oh, no way. Dude, you got very fortunate. You helped me. Dude, how do you feel being down 2 holes to none right off the bat? Make it. 2 holes to none. I don't like this for a I've never been more ready for it my entire life. Hit my ball. Perfect. No, I cannot. I can blast it all the way through this. Nope. See? Yes, you can. One of the greatest shots you could have ever had. Okay, I'll see that to be accurate. I think it was a very good shot. All right, you ready for this one? I never do well. Oh, shoot. Oh, no. Shoot. You might have a chance here. Not what you wanted to do. Get there. Get there. No. No way, dude. That is an amazing shot. get in your way. God is very fortunate to put it in your way. You can still make it by bouncing it off there. Wow, Zoo, making a comeback. And perhaps one of the worst holes for me in existence. I'm just going to clear everything for you. Be a really nice person. You have a chance to make it. That's not it. All right, Zoo. All right, well, does that mean you die? Or now it's good game? All right, here we go. When Zeke says that, he plays incredibly well. I don't like this hole. What do you think of this? Is it smart? I think it was. Yes, you can. You definitely. Oh, oh, did you fuck yourself? Yes, sir. Zoo, you steal this coin. Oh, I mishit it. And I still made it. I love it. I know. It was so bad. I mishit it, and I hit the wall, and it still made it. Oh, look at your shot. Oh, you fucked me, dude. That, that one black one with the, where you have to hit it backwards. That's my favorite hole. I have another favorite hole that's the one that one, the one that you have to hit it off the back wall, like you know what I'm talking about. I like that hole. That's correct, but that's like the perfect amount of time. Oh, zoo. That was an amazing shot, especially if I do that for you. Sure, dog. What a bad shot. Oh, hit this ball. It's Squid Games, man. That was bad, dude. Oh man, Zoo ties it up. can't believe it. Squid Game. A lot of people think this is the worst show. Look at this shot. Look at this shot. Dog, how good was that shot? I think it was like 38%, but I played it pretty high. Yo, good dog. I did. That's Squid Games, baby. Oh, you're definitely fast. I'm pretty. Make it. That was a good shot. Yeah, that would have been a good shot. All right, I'm guaranteed 2 wins. I like this one. It's difficult. Stop. No, I fucked up though. I fucked up. Yeah, because I fucked up. There's no doubt about it. Stop. That's the perfect shot. Squid Game season 2, man. That's too hard. Bad angle. Okay. Too hard. Absolutely perfect. You have to make it good. Shoot it at the hole. Join the club. Why did you shadow ban? Why did you do that? Oh, what a good shot. Stop. Okay. You're saying it to me like I'm to justify that. Oh, dude, you fucked me. I'm pretty majorly fucked. Yes. No, neither of us know that. And I do know. Bad shot. Hit my ball. Second. I am husband. Barely. shot, you can not make it. That's one of the money. Thanks for the free points, yo. What'd you think of that shot? I gave you points. I gave you a point on this hole, and you just gave it right back. Thank you. No, it is free game. I don't want you to, but you're the one who made the rules. Dude, look how difficult my shot. Hit my bug. Look at this shot. Dude, how does it feel to be down 2 holes to none? There's an argument to be made that absolutely everything can be traced. Probably using like Wi-Fi and satellite imaging. But generally, yeah, if you don't have a serial number on it, it's difficult to trace. It's still traceable, but perhaps through different 3D printers. Oh no. Hit that. Stop. Is it going to stop? What's that incident that happened? Tort something? Yeah. Oh, no way. No way. How do you like this? I like this one a lot. Short. Too short. Amazing shot. You made it on the first try, and you still lose. 3 games to none, dog. How does that make you feel? All right. Let's see your shot, big dog. That's a bad shot. That's a good shot. Bad shot. Oh, no, man. I'm going to water bump you. Miss. Oh, make it. No. I think you're right. No, I hit a perfect shot. Dude. Okay, you just look at this shot. You're gonna hit the tree, dude. Yeah, it is as good as that shot. In fact, it's way better. I know. Oh no, just sometimes. Nice shot. So I guess that counts as a different hole. It's a really cheap way to prevent it. You can count that technically as a different hole than the one in the hole where you just hit. What did you think of my shot? That's what I want. Watch this one, dude. That's a shot. No way. No way. How'd you like my shot? Dude, make this bitch. Make it. I want you to make it. And you did not. It's really unfortunate. What do you think of this shot? Look at that shot. No, dude. Dude. No way. You got a fucking win. Well, just have a hole. Dude, you love this hole. Dude, you ready for the shot? What are you doing? It's Squid Games, dog. That was not a smart shot. Unlike this shot, which is amazing. Dude, yo, you're gonna hit it too far. Too far, dog. No way, you could fucking tie for the win. For sure. Oh, fuck. I've been 4 games in a row, dude. 4 games in a row. And you survived. You survived at Squid Game. All right, here we go. You love this hole. That's an excellent shot. Oh no. No way, so you can get in the water. That's the shot. Stop. Trying to steal a hole here. I wasn't able to do so. Zook, you ready for this? Well, I just did a hole in one. What do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? Dude, you have to go. I just made it. So now you have to make it. You're good. Just make it. All right, dog. I'm winning 4 games. I'm at 4 games. There he is. No, you could you could 3D print it. You said. Thank you. Thank you. Zoom just allowed me to fucking get a hold of that. Thanks, big dog. All right, Zoom. It's impossible. It's impossible for me not to win on my side. It's impossible for you to not lose on my side. That was a very good shot. Oh, what a good shot. Did you see that? Did you fucking see that? Just around the lake's edge? Look at your shot. It helped me. I'm going to make this in 3 shots, which is pretty good on this one. Actually, very good. Very good. 3 shots. Thank you. All right, Rabbi wins. Here we go. Caspian Sea, are you in on this? Come on, we got Riser here. Caspian Sea, you're getting an invite. We've got Riser here. I'm sending you an invite. Are you gonna play? I'm sending you an invite. Yay! All right, we have Caspian Sea. I did. I invited you. Riser's in. Zoot, the Caspian Sea's in, and Zoot, the last horse crossing. I don't believe it. Zoot, there he is, and the last horse crossing the finish line. Caspian Sea's up first. He's got the yellow ball. Take that shot all day long. A beautiful shot, about 290 yards in the fairway. Zoot, that's going to be terrible. Just awful. Zoot has an amazing shot as well. Rabbi, terrible shot. You're welcome, McDonald. He's not going the other way. He's going that way. Missing this motherfucker with his performance enhancement. My iPad. Play it like a man. This is in the water. We're done. But I'm gonna let Riser hit my ball. No, it wasn't. That gives you a chance to just straight up win it. That? How'd you like that shot, baby? Do it, Riser. Get it up that hill. All right. Here we go. Give it. Give it up. Oh, fuck. Riser's got a chance to make it. What the fuck? I'm getting 0 points here, folks. 0 fucking points. That was for sure. Riser hits the most perfect shot you can hit. Riser hits the most perfect shot. This is what I'm talking about. That would make it so difficult. Oh, hit my ball. Hit me. Hit my ball. Oh wow, bad shot. Oh. Dude, Squid Game. No, it's not connected. There he is, he reconnected. And he hits an amazing shot. All right. Shit happens when you probably make a big guys. I'm just stating that shit happens when you party naked. Riser's disconnected. Yeah. Hit my ball. Oh no, he takes great. Hate this shit, baby. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, he just got stuck in good shit. Easy shot. I think mine's easy. I think mine's super easy. I like it in Captain Sue. I thought it was that time. Love this. Love. Oh my. Oh, what is going on with these shots? Dude, Dude's gonna make it. Get it, baby. Get it. You know, doesn't come to surprise. Okay? Catch me too. Thank you, boys, for two. 3210. 3210.